As promised, ladies and gentlemen, 10:13 is the time I start my videos, recently my live streams. And today's topics are going to include the worthlessness of actual truth saying on the internet, including Facebook, Twitter, and social media. But that's going to be secondary. But I will say this as a caveat to that statement. The truth is not allowed on the social media anymore. The truth has become your enemy. So you have to circumvent that in different ways. And to do it is to have a separate account for your personal friends and or Patreon members, or a separate mailing address, which my friends get certain videos that I do not put up on YouTube at all, including several hundred, 600 that are on Patreon, not because I would get a strike, but because they're no longer deemed politically correct. So the videos, if you put them on YouTube, they would become demonetized. And what's the point at that junction? So there are several hundred, 600 plus videos on Patreon. So this is kind of shout out to my Patreon members. One of them made note of that this morning. That's why they're a Patreon member, because they get the unbridled truth. And you can see my Patreon account link on my homepage under the eagle. So let's start off with doing business in the Philippines. And let's start off with what I find to be the most egregious violation of humanity in general against the Philippines people themselves, more than the foreigners, and that is phone loads, PHONE, phone loads, which disappear in 24 hours and have a minimum fee of 10 pesos or 20 cents. That is just one small faction of the phone load scam, what I consider a phone load scam. There are only three major, possibly four possibilities to buy phone loads in the Philippines, and they all have the same regulations or parameters. So what it is it's, in my opinion, it's a total, what would you call that when you have a complete control over everything? It's, I forget the word. I call it a scam. And so does everyone else in the Philippines. It's not fair to the Philippines people, for sure. So when you buy a load here in the Philippines, you can buy a 10 peso load, which lasts for 2 days, 1 day, 24 hours, or 2 days if you're only going to text, and then it disappears. You can buy a 50 peso load for 5 days. You can buy a 350 peso load, or $7 for 1 week, and have unlimited text, 3 hours of video streaming, but then it disappears. And how is it fair to a Filipino person to pay an entire day's pay for a load days, and then it's removed from your bank account in the phone load service? It's not fair at all. But it goes much deeper than that. What happens is you buy a card, and your card has a number on it, and that number is good for 60 days. And on the 60th day, if you don't load the phone with a minimum of 10 pesos, that number from the registrar in Globe or Smart or Sun, at which point you have to buy another card, which costs $2. 100 pesos. So that's basically 2 hours work for a Filipino. And when you think about it, it doesn't cost Globe or Smart or any company any money to keep that money in their bank account, but it does cost you the load itself, and after 60 days, an additional 100 pesos, which is just part of the problem. After 60 days, if you have to get a new load, a new cell phone number, you have to go and find all the people that were in your phone book or in your phone and send them out your new telephone number, which could take hours. And some phones don't store that information. You have to know how to store it. I myself lost 300 telephone numbers a few years back because the circuit board on my phone died, even though it was only a few years old, and the phone card, which was supposed to save the numbers, did not save the numbers. So I had to reinstall 300 numbers. I still have the same number, but I had to reinstall 300 numbers, which took days to do. Actually, literally, it took days to do it. So the big problem here is what it costs for the phone loads themselves. You have to understand, a Filipino worker in a department store might make about 32 pesos to 38 pesos an hour. So their phone load for each day is 10 pesos, is what they usually loaded for the day. So therefore, they spend a quarter of an hour's worth of wages to load the phone each day. Now, in America, that would be a quarter of, let's say, $50 would be $12.50 a day. It would be $400 a month just to have text only. If you decided that you wanted to talk, you cannot talk on a 10 peso load. You have to load 50 pesos or an hour's wages. And then that disappears in one day. So that's one complication that the Filipino people have, that they should not restrict these people to, because it's just too much of a burden. Now, in addition to the problematic cost of the phone loads themselves, what happens is these people are only texting messages, and they only text one idea back towards the person and one idea back. So their brains are being trained to only be able to comprehend one piece of information at a time. And I've gone through this multiple times. If I say to a person, "Good morning, how are you doing, and where are you having lunch?" the answer will come back, "Hello," because I said good morning first. But "how are you doing" is not going to be responded to, and "where are you having lunch" is that. If they remember that, you have to send it out again. They're not going to respond in 3 pieces of information. That's the bigger problem with the texting only, besides the cost, which is, if they want to talk on the phone, it's an entire hour's wages, which would be, in American money, $50 per day to talk on the phone. So what does that come out to? That comes out to $1,500 per month so that you can talk on a cell phone. Now, it doesn't cost any more money in America to talk on the cell phone as it does in the Philippines, and yet they charge thousands of times more here for people that make 1/10 of the wages. That's my first big problem with the Philippines phone service. The second problem is the cost of internet is 1,300 pesos a month minimum, which comes out to 3 days pay. And in America, that would be roughly $1,200 a month. And that 1,300 pesos per month, you have to sign a contract for 2 years. And if you don't fulfill the contract, well, you move from one house to the other, even next door, they won't transfer the phone to the next door address. So unless you could get somebody to move the wire for you, you have to pay off the original contract for 23 months. Let's say you pay 1,300 pesos a month and you have used it for a month. You have to pay off 23 times 1,300. That's 23,000, and another 6,000 in for the 300 pesos. That's 29,000 pesos. So it'll cost you 30,000 pesos to move down the block if for some reason your apartment becomes unlivable or whatever. That's not reasonable, but that's the way it is. So if you're a foreigner, it also goes that you will have to pay that 30,000 pesos. And I see people in the internet, when you go to pay your bill in the ICM mall, I have seen people, not every day, but I have seen people complaining about that function or dysfunctionality about cell phones and internet services in the Philippines. Now, an additional problem with the internet and the cost of the internet is that now, I see green. I see Super Chat and NYO Super. It's been a long time since I've seen your channel. I'm back and love this channel. Thank you very much. I'm going to get a pot. I'm going to bang that pot. Because when you bang a pot, everybody knows you make a lot, including Flying Circus. He even made a video. You bang the pot, you look underneath a piece of paper, and hundreds of dollars appear under the paper. So just for you, NYO, I wasn't going to do this, but now I feel obligated to bang a pot a little bit. I'll bang a pot. And then we're going to get back. Oh, you can hear the pot banging. I'm going to bang a pot with a pot, which is a special thing I do when the pot smiles because of the Super Chat. We take the pot, we invert it, and we bang a pot with a pot. And this is a black pot, and black pots matter. Everybody knows this. Okay, Salama, thank you very much for the Super Chat. Getting back to the cost of internet here. It's not fair to the people for an additional reason. And this is probably the most egregious thing that the Philippines internet companies and phone services can do to their population. It has, because of the lockdown, there is no school. So I do have read on philstar.com that they wish to make school go back online. But the problem is none of the children's families, because everybody is out of work, can afford not just the 1,300 pesos a month, but 1,300 pesos forever for 24 months. They cannot afford to sign a contract like that. It will bankrupt them. But that's what they want to do, and they want to make the schools education. They want to make it so the children can only learn online. An additional problem with that is the average Filipino family cannot afford a computer, even if you could buy one, which you cannot. So the initial service charge for a computer minimum is now 25,000 pesos. You're not going to buy even the smallest i3 computer for less than 25,000 pesos. Filipinos live from day to day on their wages of 300 or 400 or 500 pesos a day. So I don't believe it's reasonable that the Filipino people, not the foreigners, that they don't get some sort of a deep discount for the internet, but they don't. Everybody pays exactly the same. So when you sign a contract, you're obligated for 24 months to pay that 1,300 pesos. If you change your contract and upgrade it. You sign a new contract for 24 months. That's my big pet peeve in the Philippines. The cost of texting and the limited ability to talk on the phone has destroyed the people's ability to have multiple pieces of information in a communication between two people. They only are being trained by texting only for one piece of information. Good morning, how are you? What are you doing for lunch? And the response is good morning back. Then you have to ask them, how are you? And then they'll say, I'm fine. And then you have to ask them, what are you having for lunch? And they'll say, I don't know. Because no one knows what they're going to have for lunch 3 hours in advance. That's my first pet peeve. My second pet peeve is that during the lockdown, there is no commerce happening in the Philippines other than medicine and food, which is bountiful on the supermarket shelves. Even though it goes up 5% every month, it's 5% on average per item every month. I bought cheese, a 2-kilo block of cheese 2 months ago, and it was 777 pesos. Now it's, 877 pesos. Now it's 890 pesos. So it went up 13 pesos in 2 months, which is, 5%. Bread has gone up 5% in 2 months. The cost of just about every food item goes up between 2 and 3 and 4 and 5% a month. That's not reasonable for people that are not working. And this is just about the people in the Philippines. This isn't about the foreigners. Most foreigners will be able to afford those increases. But the Filipino people are having to survive on less money for the same amount of goods. Another thing I wanted to talk about is walking around at night. I've been asked many times, is it safe to walk around the Philippines at night? And I would say, yes, it's very safe. I've been walking around the Philippines at night since 2014. I walked through the streets of Cebu between the Ayala Mall and the Gulf Coast hotel that I stayed at for a while, or from Mango Square. I went there 2 times. Once during the day, I took a walk, and once at night with a guy named Bob, and he actually had to force me to go, and he's going, come on, you got to see this place at night. And I went there, and personally, I would never. You couldn't get me to go back. You can't buy me dinner there. You couldn't say it's on me, it's on the house. I wouldn't waste my time. That place is the dregs of society, period. There isn't anything to see in Mangrove Square for the average, normal human being. It's nothing but degeneracy and it's crazy. I mean, I see no benefit of going to Mango Square, but I went there at night with Bob, and Bob said, we'll be back by 10 o'clock at night. And Bob decided to start drinking when we got there, and he decided that he was going to meet a woman, and the women that he was talking to were basically, they were basically street women. And at like 10 o'clock, I said, Bob, I'm going home. And he's going, no. There'll be some beautiful women coming. They come around 2 o'clock in the morning. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. I'll be halfway through sleeping. Adios. And what I decided to do was walk home from Mango Square. And I did, and I had no problems. And then there is a commercial area now between the Ayala Mall and the Gulf Coast or Gold Coast Hotel. And that's 2,000 feet of no street lamps, no sidewalks, and people living in cardboard houses and made out of whatever they could make the house out of. And I walked back and forth that route every night when I was finished at the Ayala Mall. I never had a problem there. I dated a girl in Bacolod, in the worst of the worst of the worst places I have ever been in my entire life. Some call it a slum, so others call it a low-income area. And I walked through that area in the afternoon, in the day, at the night for the 5 days I was in Bacolod. And I never was accosted by anybody or bothered by anybody or walked up to and confronted by anybody ever. I walked. Dumaguete is another place I walked around at night. Never had a problem. Tagbilaran City, sometimes I walk from the BQ Mall to the ICM Mall. There are many, many desolate streets. Never had a problem. So if last night I walked home from Giuseppe's Pizza, I walked to the McDonald's. That's a 1 kilometer. There's no street lamps. Every 1,000 feet, you might see one store or a street sign showing what's going to be built on a certain lot. Nobody bothers you here. Now, I can't say that would be the way it always is, and we have crime everywhere in the world, but I can say that I have walked through the streets of Palawan at night, the streets of Bacolod City at night, the streets of Cebu at night. 100 kilometers I probably walked through the streets of Cebu when I first got here. The streets of Tagbilaran. And as far as being accosted, never one time. People will say, do you have some spare change or something like that? And you can give it to them or not and say, do I have no change? But that's up to you. But no one has ever accosted me in any way, shape, or form. So if you're afraid of walking around the streets of the city at night, I think that's more of a personal issue where you just are not comfortable walking around the streets of in the dark. But in the dark here is normal. They don't have street lights in the Philippines on most streets. The one big problem, and I'm going to turn the camera around and show you the big problem about walking around on the streets at night. Oh, we see commentary. Well, let me see what we have here first. We have the wordsmith is here. Thank you for stopping by, Scott. We have the wordsmith. Let's see. The glasses are a little foggy. Up and Flying Circus, baby. He is putting out some of the best videos on YouTube. One of the few real YouTubers left in this world. So let's see what Flying Circus says. LOL, baby, because he knows he gets notifications for videos that will never appear on YouTube. It is said, says Scott Del Fuego, the wordsmith, it is said everything goes full circle. This, of course, accurate. We are in a time in which telling the truth is the equivalent of heresy, much like the witch hunts of the Middle Ages. We have enjoyed our double lattes and video games. People like Michael Fazio have constantly sounded the warning bell, and about times like this that lie ahead. We did not listen. He was right. Program is afoot. Yeah, and that's true. I've been telling you that if one of my most classic videos that I ever did, and it should be a #1 video on YouTube, is, and I'm going to quote the title, They Want You Dead. And in that video, I spoke about a vaccination program that was going to happen. This is in 2010. It's not prescient. It's not being prescient. I'm not psychic. I just did the research. I also wrote about, I also talked about the chemtrails and how they were poisoning the ground and the groundwater, and how they will eventually vaccinate everybody by the year 2021. That's happening now. And this plan has been in effect since 1972. It's it's been on record to create the Agenda 2021 since the 1880s, when the first statistics of population growth appeared that were accurate. And they are accurate within plus or minus 10% today. The plan to vaccinate everyone, the Bill Gates, the WHO, and whatever organizations are doing this, they have an ulterior motive. That is not allowed to be talked about. If I talked about it here right now, what the exact ulterior motive is, the censorship on YouTube has come down to they could either remove your channel or the algorithms die off on your channel, and those videos are consistently for only friends. And I talk about this stuff with my friends all the time. Right now, we have in place a total quarantine in the Philippines, going back to doing business in the Philippines. There is no possible way to do any kind of real business in the Philippines that what we would consider normal, and I can only use America, what we could consider normal. You will order something and it will send you something else. And you're expected to pay for that. Otherwise, the order goes back and then you don't get your whatever you could use. But to give you an example, and I got to tell you people out there, please stop sending me messages on how to ship a computer to the Philippines. There are rules as to whether or not you can ship computers to the Philippines. And one of the rules is that the computer has to go through a customs house, which means you have to go to a customs house and pick up the computer when you give them the original receipt with the Wi-Fi, Bluetooth Wi-Fi code on it. Now, if you don't do that, the computer could be confiscated. If they send it directly to you and the computer is in a box and they find it, the computer gets confiscated. You don't get reimbursed and there's no way for you to pick it up. So you people that keep telling me, send it in a cargo cart or send it in by cart, C-A-R-T, I'm not going to do that. And besides that, to do it legally, a computer that costs here, we're just going to use 200,000 pesos for an example, might cost 150,000 pesos in America. But the shipping is an additional several thousand pesos, but the import fees are another $1,000. So now you're paying 250,000 pesos plus. So what did I do? I've been trying to buy the same computer since March. And I know this is a little redundant, but I am tired of hearing people say, you can get a computer shipped in a day. No, you cannot. So the store that I originally went to, and I'm not going to name names, asked me for a 100,000 peso deposit in March. And I could have given that to the lady, but she wouldn't give me a day of delivery. Well, as it turns out, as of 10 days ago, they still have not received a single order from their parent company in Manila. And when it does come, if it ever will come, because I never made the order, when it does come, it goes to Cebu. And then it comes to Bohol. Now, there was one computer available last week in Manila. So I said, can I have a date? This is the part that's hard to do business in the Philippines. And on the phone, she said, sir, Michael, if you come in today, now, with the deposit, 3 or 4 weeks. I said, okay, that's reasonable. Are you sure? Yes, sir, I'm sure. But when I got to the store, she told me it could be 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 weeks. I said, well, you said 3 or 4 weeks. Yes, sir. Not, I apologize, I made a mistake. Not, I apologize, maybe I lied. No, yes, sir. I said, so yes, sir, what? Yes, sir. And the answer was very simple. Yes, sir, but it depends on the cargo container when it's going to be shipped. So I said, call up Manila and ask them when they're going to ship it. No, sir, I cannot do that. But you're the manager. Yes, sir. Well, then call up. No, sir, we do it on the computer. So she she fooled around on the computer for a few minutes and she said, "Sir, it could be 6 or 7 weeks, as many as 5 or 6 weeks, possibly 7." Those were her words. So I said, "So you're telling me that if I order a computer on October 10th, I won't get the computer until November 17th?" "No, sir." "Well, that's 5 weeks." "Yes, sir. But it's 5 business days week. So it's 35 business days. And so that now that brings us into December 10th, roughly, because there are holidays and weekends. They don't count." And I says, "Are you going to guarantee me that date?" She said, "No, sir. It depends on the cargo container." So what happened was I called another store associated with that store, and we're going to just say we spoke with Row, R-O-W. And she told me right from the get-go, could be 5 or 6 weeks, business days. So I said, well, at least she told me the truth. I'll give her store the business. So I says, "I'll come in tomorrow." She goes, "No, sir." I said, "What do you mean, no, sir? It's 4 o'clock now. I can't get there in time. You close at 5. "Yes, sir." "What do you mean, yes, sir?" "Yes, sir. You can only come in the following day." I said, "Why is that?" She said, "Because we have meetings tomorrow." I said, "Well, just order it." "No, sir. We have to confirm that it's in the store before we take the deposit." So will you give me back my deposit after 30 days? "No, sir." I said, "Well, then why am I giving you a deposit?" "Well, if you want the computer, sir, it's up to you." So it's a circle jerk from the get-go with what day the computer is going to be available. So on the second day, I called her up at 10 o'clock in the morning. She was on the phone with her supervisor, and her supervisor notified me that the computer was sold. At which point I said, "Thank you for trying," because at least she told me the truth. That was rare. That was very rare. So we still don't have a computer, and that's why. So now I have something else I want to talk to you about. The reef outside Alona Beach. The reef outside Alona Beach is effectively a dead reef. Now, when I moved here in 2014, that was what is called a live reef. A live reef has fan corals and brain coral and all kinds of flora and fauna and large leafy things of a colorful nature, and it has clownfish everywhere and sea anemones, which are clownfish. It has those everywhere. Well, I used to swim from the Blue Water Resort. When I first moved to Alona Beach, I lived at the Blue Water Resort area, and I used to swim from the Blue Water Resort to where the Hennon Hotel is, and the reef starts at the Blue Water Resort, thereabouts, and that's about 3 kilometers. And each day you could see the most spectacular life. You'd see what is called coral sea snakes, one of the most deadly sea snakes in the world. You'd see them every 10, 15, 20 minutes while you were swimming. You might see them more often if you look for them. There are millions of these sea snakes floating around in the underbrush of the sea. So let's say you'd see 30 sea snakes from the blue water to the Hennon. Now there are 0. I swam it the day after I went scuba diving, 2 days after I went scuba diving. I swam part of it. I went to visit some friends where I used to live, and I went out to the reef, and I started at Blue Water, and I got to the beginning of Alona Beach, and it's a dead reef. And then I went on the Alona Beach area after I went scuba diving, after I run out of battery time, and I swam out to the reef, and it's a dead reef. And it's dead because of the affluence or the overflow of gray water onto the reef. There is no ecosystem parameters that they don't have it like we had in the Florida Keys, because the reefs were dying there as well. They don't have septic drain fields and septic treatment water plants. They just have a tank. Everything goes into the tank. The tank has no bottom, and whatever air, they don't have enstrained air pumped into the tank to cause a bacteria, to kill the bad bacteria and to make the good bacteria. Very complicated process, septic systems and the installation of septic systems, but they don't have anything. I have never seen, not one time ever, seen a drain field built in the Philippines. And a drain field is what allows the effluents to become neutral and go into the soil and not cause damage. Alona Beach is a dead reef. So in that respect, I'm going to say that the lockdown is beneficial to the ecosystem, if not the economic system of the Philippines. And when I say that the reef is dead, now I'll tell you why. There are many things that cause coral to die. If this was a brain coral, let's just say this was a brain coral, and you touched it with your hands, and your hands had oil on it. Well, this area of the brain coral would find it hard to grow. If not, that section would die for a short period of time, weeks, months, maybe a year. Depends on how much disturbance on the coral that you do. Well, all coral is the same. So any outside chemicals from suntan lotion or motor oil or the effluents from the hotels kills what makes coral coral. Well, there are no corals anymore. There's no more fan coral outside Alona Beach. There's every once in a while, brain coral is the strongest of the corals. On the dive I did on my 65th birthday, every once in a long while, you'll see a piece of brain coral, just a few inches, like 14 inches, 15 inches. You see some spider coral, which are quick growing coral. It's almost like a weed. But that's it. That's it. You don't see any conch. The big conch shells, they're gone. Whatever hasn't been fished by the Filipinos just won't go to the coral reefs because they're dead. It's a dead issue now. So the ecosystem of the Philippines is kind of getting a break from the economic downturn. Let's call it a downturn of the Philippines. If there's one good big plus about this, is that the reefs won't die. Now, in Alona Beach, when I moved here in 2014, now I did videos that are only up for my private friends and Patreon members, and only few of those. The coral reefs, I got to tell you, you can't even go out to the coral reefs in Alona Beach last year at all. You couldn't swim out there because what you saw on my 65th birthday was 4 boats along an entire kilometer of beach. At that time, before the lockdown, there were 350 or more, maybe 400 boats coming in and out of the beach all day long. So swimming out to the reef was a very dangerous endeavor. Now, by the Blue Water Reef, not so much traffic, but still a lot of traffic out there. And if there's waves and you're swimming in the water and a boat hits you, they're not going to know that because your head is below the crest of the wave. So basically the tourists, because of all the boats, stopped swimming out to the reef, which was the reason people went to Alona Beach 30 years ago and 20 years ago was to see the reef. Well, now not only couldn't you swim out there with all the tourist boats, there's tourist dive boats, there's tourist snorkeling boats, there's tourist touring boats, there's tourist boats that go out to see the dolphins, that there are tourist boats that only go out to Virgin Island, there are tourist boats that only go out to another island out there. There are like 3 islands that you could go visit. Well, there were so many boats going so many places that they killed the reef. So the same way Boracay was closed down, Alona Beach, it's good that it's closed down. I like that. And in addition to that, when I moved here because there weren't populated areas. I moved to a very, very desolate place in the Philippines where I was the only foreigner on the block, and I liked it like that. There were 2 other foreigners, but I never met them. They still live here, and I've still never met them. One lives in a McMansion, and maybe I've met him, I don't know, but another one lives in some obscure place. They say if you go back into the forest over that way, there's an Australian and half Australian and or German wife. I don't know where he lives, but I'm the only foreigner here, and I get along quite well with my neighbors, and I liked it like that. There was typically 1 car would go down the block on any given day. And then last year during tourist season, there would be 300, 400, 500, sometimes 1,000 vehicles would go up and down the block to get to the beach, to go diving, to remove the divers from the boats, to bring supplies to the boats. And then when the wind was blown from the wrong direction, the boats from other parts of the island of Panglao would use the beach as a port to pick up supplies, to pick up divers, and then that would increase the amount of trucks here, and it was just destroying the beach. There was sometimes you couldn't get a blanket, like a 3-by-7-foot blanket on the beach where is a beautiful place to go snorkeling. It's not fair to the ecosystem, and I'm a diver and swimmer and snorkeler first. I moved here to see that kind of stuff. It's not available anymore. It is in some places, but not along the beach. And there are other beaches like Dumaluman Beach. That's just a sand beach. There's nothing to see on a sand beach. If you live on a white sand beach and the white sand beach just slowly tapers off into the ocean, the only thing you're ever going to see is sand. You might see a sea ray or a manta, not a sea ray or an eel, but you won't see any vegetation in the sand, so to speak, unless there's a rock or an old shoe or a tire where something's living on it. But there's nothing to see. But Alona Beach is a reef area, and that reef is dead. Now, I did speak with the diver I went scuba diving with on my 65th birthday, and he agreed the reef is dead. I spoke with 2 other divers yesterday. They agree the reef is dead. Now, you had to be here 7 years ago or more, 6 years ago or more to know what the reef used to look like. But now you can swim out there safely, but there's nothing to see. You have to go further towards the peninsula of the tip of Panglao on the west end of the island to see anything at all. And at that rate, there are streets that lead to it, but those streets dead end on private homes and properties. Now, legally, you can go from the street to the beach. They're not supposed to block access to the beach, and most of them will not block access to the beach. But some people put up a 6-foot iron gate with a padlock on it, and then you have to go left or right 200 or 300 or 400 feet. Now, when I was on the beach with Fox 222 Carl last year, we had to walk sometimes 400 or 500 feet to go around a fence. And that's not reasonable because the law is that they can't block 75 feet from the high water mark in any way, shape, or form, but they do it. And you got to walk around to the front of that property, which is 300 feet to the front of the property, find somebody that will let you into the property, and then go into the property and then walk 300 feet back down to the beach and then you go right again or go west, and then you run into another fence 100 feet away, or somebody put up a block wall. I mean, they have destroyed the Filipinos' access to the beach. They've destroyed tourists' access to the waterfront of the beach because of the hotels. There was a hotel we were on. We ended up on their property to cross over their property, and they said, no, sir, you cannot cross over into the property. And we said, why not? And they said, private property. So maybe they changed the rules, maybe they didn't. But when I moved to Alona Beach in the area of Blue Water Resort, you could walk clear shot from Blue Water right to the Hennon without any obstacles, no fences, no boundaries. There was one small area that was a little rocky to walk up, and that's where the goats, the wild goats you'd see the wild goats in that one area. There was a little bit of a rocky area. The goats like to hang out on the rocks. That's gone. The goats are gone, and now it's a resort. I don't know what happened to the goats. There was probably 50, 60, 70 goats you'd see on any given day. The goats and the goat people are gone. So the Philippines has changed a lot, and I think it's for the better that it goes back to the way it was, because the way it was a year ago is not the reason people originally came to Alona Beach or the Philippines. They came to see pristine beaches. Now, what they did in 2014, I read an article that they were going to put 14 to 15,000 rooms on the island of Panglao. And they have done that. They have effectively, I couldn't prove that there are 14 or 15,000 rooms, but I can say to you that you can't go 15 seconds on a tricycle or a jeepney without seeing a new multi-room complex going up on any road anywhere in Panglao. And then what you don't see is, can't tell you where it is, but I know of people that are building 30 and 40 and 50 rooms on their properties somewhere between Panglao and Tagbilaran that are permitted, but they are 40 and 50 rooms of permitted rooms that you will never see from the street. And those places are all over the place, but you'd have to be a little bit adventurous and know where they are and to walk down some dirt road into a forest, because you're going to be walking into a forest and it's going to go 1,500, 1,800 feet before you come out of the forest. And then on the other side of the forest, you're going to see hotel complexes all over the place. Now, I did put one up yesterday of probably, I'm not real sure how many rooms. I would say there were 6 across, 3 high, 18 in the back, 36. There might have been 50 room complex, 60 rooms. And that might not be the whole complex. That might be the beginning. And that's where you're going to meet, you're going to see digger, but a new sand digger, a sand digger. We have the sand digger in that video. In case anybody gets to the end, you're going to see the sand digger, and he's digging, and he's going. Actually, he was on his way to Alona Beach to do some digging because he likes to build sand castles when he's not trying to destroy America. So we do have a video up of a construction complex, and the construction complex that I showed you yesterday is under construction. Because it was a Saturday, the men were off. But from the point of what is called Poblacion in Panglao to Alona Beach, I would say that realistically, there are 50 or 60 of those places that you can see from the street. And that many, if you walk back a few hundred yards off the street what they call third or fourth lots back. That's how many there are. And they were all populated. And they were all asking for as much as 30,000 pesos per month per room, plus utilities. Now, on that same stretch, you'll see rooms for 10,000 pesos a month, long term. So they've reduced the cost of rooms, because now there are too many rooms for the people, to 1/3 of what it was a year ago. That's a good thing. So now there are rooms, brand new furnished rooms with TVs and Wi-Fi wires. You get free Wi-Fi, but you pay for your water and your electric. And water is expensive, and electric is very expensive. So, but they were 30,000 pesos plus per room, and now they're 10,000 pesos per room per month. So that's 200 a month from 600 a month. So this is a good thing. Now the people that really want to come here can actually enjoy living here in this environment, but the reef is dead. So what's the point? Unless you know where there's another reef that isn't dead, then to go to Alona Beach is to walk on a dead beach, because there's no more beach. We already talked about that. There's some historical sites on Alona Beach. We already talked about that. There are some historical sites on Alona Beach, but there's no more beach. The beach is gone. And where I said in Trudy's was a bar, restaurant, grill, cafe. There were 60 or 70 tables, where there is now no beach. The high tide marks comes way past where the tables and chairs were, because 3 typhoons that were never supposed to happen, a southwest, south wind, southeast wind, typhoon, plus full moon high tide, was never supposed to happen. And what happened was, and remember, outside Alona Beach has a reef. Reefs protect the shoreline. Well, typically, for 100 years that they've been documenting typhoons, they came out of the north. They never came out of the south or the southeast or the southwest. So they came out of the north, and they did whatever damage they did. They came out of the northwest. They did whatever damage they did up by the city, and that's kind of protected from other islands. So it didn't do much damage. But in 2015, 16, 17, and 18, somewhere in those three years, we had 3 typhoons come out of the southwest, southeast, or straight from the south during the upcoming full moon high tide. And it washed away 70 feet from the walk path to the bulkhead line, and another 100 feet of white sand beach. That's gone. The white sand beach, the 100 feet of white sand beach that at high tide you had 100 feet to relax and enjoy, that's gone. The bulkhead, which would have been about 8 feet high, that's gone. That was washed away. And what's behind it is just a line of rocks. And sometimes you can see some old wooden stumps that they made the bulkhead out of. That's where there was a bulkhead that was 8 feet high, but in front of the bulkhead was 8 feet of sand. So you could just take one step off the bulkhead onto a white sand beach and then walk 100 feet to the waterline. Now it's waterline right up to the walk path. And if they have another southwest or southeast storm, the walk path will disappear. And that'll be my next trip, showing you where the walk path disappeared, and they reclaimed it with some rocks. But there is a tree that's in one of the pictures I posted in a video yesterday, that all the trees have been undermined. And you got to remember, the tree that you're going to see in that picture was the tree off the walk path. Then there was another line of trees at the bulkhead line, mostly palm trees, but some other types of trees that grow in salt water. They're all gone. It's all gone. It's all gone. There's nothing left. And when I walked past 300 stores, storefronts, and little venues that were open a year ago, in the entire day, from the time I started walking at 1 o'clock till 3, when it really started to rain hard and I had to stop, in 2 hours, altogether, I think you can count 17 people in the video I allowed to go on to my friends and on Patreon. But 17 people is what I counted, less the children. There was 2 or 3 or 4 little children in the beach area, and not including the West Indies or Rastafarian group that is there, because they live there. They're not vacationing. There might have been 20, 25 people. It's a tattoo parlor, a little coffee shop. They play music, kind of like a hippie environment, kind of cool, like the way it used to be in the 60s. You had a little group of people that all congregate and they all enjoy the same type of reggae music and things like that. That I did not include, but about 17 adults is what I counted, and then 3 or 4 children were moving around down there, but that was it. Besides the workers, 17 people. Now I want to talk about obstacles in the street also, which is not fair to the people in the Philippines or tourists, because you're not used to that. Gray Slim says not all parts of Mindanao are safe. Yes, sir. That is absolutely true. But I've never been there. And I will also add the caveat that people that have been there are in the city of Zamboanga some white people living there that feel comfortable moving around in the daytime. Suggested when I spoke with some of them, not so good to walk around at night. Certainly not good to be in bars in Mindanao, in Zamboanga at night. But there are parts of Mindanao that the U.S. Embassy and the Philippines consulate will tell you that probably you shouldn't go there. So that's true. Thank you for the piece of information. Now, I've never been there. I have no, and the interesting part about what this Gray Slim said, Gray Slim, is that it? Gary Slim said, is that Mindanao is among the biggest islands, not the biggest, but among the biggest islands in the Philippines. And from an ecosystem point of view, mountains, streams, rivers, lakes, ponds, and flora and fauna, and beaches, and dive sites, Mindanao is probably the most spectacular of all the islands, and yet it's probably not a good place to be in some parts of Mindanao. Now, Davao, I walked around the streets of Davao at night, never had a problem. Walked all over the streets in the day and night in Davao for 10 days, never had a problem. I would walk from the hotel I was in to a friend's house and back, and we would walk from one place to another. Never had a problem. Nobody ever walked up to us. So Davao was Mr. Duterte's hometown. That is considered one of the safest cities in the world. But outside Davao, I don't know. I've never been outside Davao. So Mindanao does have parts that the consulates tell you that shouldn't be there. Women's, we have more. We have wordsmithing. Okay, we got to get to some of these comments. I see that I have been lacking. Women with Adam's apples. Bob was living dangerously. That's true. That is something that you have to look out for. Not look out for them because they're not dangerous, but ladyboys that 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 could be an obstacle for your daily routine. But here's what you do. If When I went to Alona Beach and when I would go visit friends or the bar that I lived in a bar, restaurant, hotel complex. And I lived in the hotel because it had a commercial dive pool in the back. But there was an open bar under a bamboo roof. And there were ladyboys that would go to the bar. And if you're street smart, you just say to them, first thing you do is when you walk up to a beautiful woman in the Philippines, you ask them, are you a man or a woman? And they will tell you. They have no problem telling you, I'm a ladyboy. I'm a man, but I'm a woman. Something to that effect, and say thank you very much and just move on. So, yeah, ladyboys on Alona Beach. Now, that was a big commodity. There were foreigners that actually come to the Philippines to experience ladyboys. Why? I don't understand why, but that's what they do. Now, I hear there's lots of foreigners scattered throughout the entire Philippines area that came to the Philippines for ladyboys and ended up doing whatever it was that they do with a ladyboy. I'm not real sure what you would do with a ladyboy. I never was with a ladyboy. I have no attention. I don't even talk to people that were with ladyboys, but I've heard stories. I've heard that there are, and I'll give you an example. On Alona Beach, there's a dive center. And the guy who owns the dive center is a freaking sweetheart of a guy, very professional businessman, and runs the business like clockwork. I mean, if the tours go out on time, the schedule is on the board. You know when the tours are going. When I used to do the tours there, and he runs a tight ship, so to speak, and he enjoyed ladyboys, and he would find a ladyboy, and he would let the ladyboy move in with him on his complex, and he would do whatever he does with the ladyboy. And if he really liked the ladyboy, he'd send the ladyboy to Thailand to get the full operation. So there are people here that like ladyboys. Now, I don't know any of them besides that one person, but I've heard stories about others. And, to each his own. So let's see. Flying Circus says excrement with your date. That's the lady. That's in connection with the wordsmith. Women with Adam's apples. Excrement would, I guess. Oh yeah, I did know another guy. I lived on a complex with a guy. He got drunk every night. He was a school teacher with 3,500 Facebook friends. I will never mention his name. He liked ladyboys. And his excuse for liking ladyboys is he gets so drunk, he just comes home and sleeps in bed with them, but he doesn't remember what he does. I've heard that story multiple times. So I thought that was a load of malarkey. Dennis Adams here. Welcome to the machine. Thank you, Dennis, for stopping by. I hope you got my email. Special that video is for only just our friends. Scott Del Fuego is saying hello to Dennis. Dennis is saying hello to Scott Del Fuego. Saddened in anger by the death of the reef, says Scott Del Fuego. Although I can't really get too worked up about the missing poisonous snakes. I kind of like those. The chances of getting bit by one are slim, but it is possible. But if you are adventurous, it's part of swimming in the Philippines, Thailand, Vietnam. They all have these poisonous snakes. There is also ways to protect yourself. You can wear a hoodie and a full lycra suit and boots and gloves, and it makes it more difficult for them to bite you because the coral snakes have even the biggest of the coral snakes, say, now I've seen them 4 feet, 4 foot plus feet long. They don't have any more or less poison than the small ones, but their mouths are very small. So if you were to take something like this, the tip of this pen, maybe they could get their mouth over half the tip of the pen. So if they were going to try to bite your hand, what would happen is the teeth would just go across your hand. It would be like a clamshell bucket on a crane, not grabbing anything because it's on concrete. However, the vulnerable parts of your body are between your fingertips, the webbing between your fingers, the webbing between your toes, and believe it or not, well, you're going to have a mask on, but your nostrils, if you don't have a mask on, and your earlobes. And how that happens is this is typically where people get bit, on their earlobes or their ears, their nostrils, the webbing between their fingers, or the webbing between their toes, or the little finger. That's pretty much, because on the big finger they wouldn't really be, their teeth would just go around it. And the reason for that is because they can stay down underwater for about 20 minutes, some of them, some types. But then when they come up, they come straight up. That you'll see this, and if you're looking down, he'll come right up and hit you in the chest and bounce off. Or he'll come straight up next to you, or she will come straight up next to you. Now, they're not looking to bite you, but they might bite something small enough if they see something small enough to bite. And then you'll die in about 6 hours. So if you life, it's life, baby. No one lives forever. So, but you do get to enjoy the beauty of the sea. And you take you take the good with the bad. Now, the private vids are outstanding, says Scott Del Fuego. Okay, wait a second. In the Philippines, says the wordsmith, they seem to just drop their dookie in the dirt. No real effective septic system in rapidly developing areas. No, that's true. That's absolutely true. I will tell you what it's, because it's on my plans to build for the hotel. The septic system is a box that's 8 feet wide and 8 feet deep and 16 feet long. It used to be just one box, a little smaller than that for the size building that I'm going to build. It just was a box where the effluent went in with no bottom, and whatever dissipated. Now it's a box with 2 baffles, BAFFLES, baffles. So it goes into the first tank, the effluent, with an 18-inch drop. And there's a reason for that, the drop, but it's so that when the water comes up, it doesn't backflow into the pipe. And it's a T drop. It goes up 5 inches higher than the T drop and down 18 inches into the tank. So it goes into the first baffle where it's not treated, and the solids settle at the bottom. And there's a cap on that tank. There's 3 caps, about 18 by 18. Then it goes into the second baffle where it gets a little bit of time to dissolve and become non-poisonous, but it's not treated in any way. There's no chemical or aeration in the second tank. And the third tank is the overflow tank, and in that tank has no bottom on it. So that's like a 6 foot by 8 foot by 8 foot deep tank with no bottom. So any extra water or all the water eventually ends up in the third tank, And any extra water, they just have a pipe out the back of the tank, and it just goes wherever it goes. It might go into the street, not where I live, not the way I have it set up, but where it might just go straight out into the street into a trough. That's the third tank. There's no treatment. In America, you have to have aeration systems and drain fields. Now, if the third tank in America, I install septic systems, so I know what a drain field is. The third tank in America has the outlet, whatever water comes out, and in America, the third tank does not have an open bottom. Here it does. Goes out into a drain field, and the drain field goes left and right, 10 feet left, 10 feet right, and then as much as 20 or 30 feet forward. And then every 24 or 36 inches is another pipe. And on the bottoms of those pipes have hundreds of holes, half-inch in diameter holes. And those pipes set on top of sugar sand. And on top of underneath the sugar sand is a 1/4-inch P-rock. And on top of the pipes sits a membrane, and then more sugar sand, and then 1/2-inch rock, and then a black tarp, a black vapor barrier, a permeable barrier on top. That lets the rain go through and lets the rain wash the effluents down into the soil. But the drain field, by the time it goes through what is called the sugar sand, the bacteria is gone. 12 inches of sugar sand is what they call for, and it depends on how big the drain field is. But they don't have sugar sand in the Philippines. They don't even have screened sand in the Philippines. You have to make that. So, yeah, the dookie just goes straight into the dirt, and the ihi, or the urine, goes straight into the soil, and that all just goes straight down through the coral, which is not waterproof. It's a permeable. Coral is like a hard sponge. It lets water through it. Won't let solids through it, but it lets the fluid go through it. So yeah, there is no ecosystem standards here. If the ecosystem standards that were in place in Key Largo, even back in 2005, were in place here, they would just shut the Philippines down altogether. Gone. Nobody would be allowed to live here, because all over, everywhere in the Philippines are open troughs where, if you Google on my page 3 rivers, 3 spelled out 3 rivers, you're going to see an interesting video. And those 3 rivers are 3 different septic systems draining into an open pit in the Philippines. McDonald's in Tagbilaran City by the ICM Mall. Oh, we see gold. Ha! Salamat. Wait a second. Let's get the pot. Havoc Master. Oh my God. Now this guy he bangs out the truth, Havoc Master. If you're not subscribed to Havoc Master and you want to hear somebody do the real news, you'll get some liar on the news, and Havoc Master will tell you what he really said. And what he really said is usually these guys on the news, they're jamming it up the old chute, and Havoc Master will come on and tell you which chute they're jamming it in. Thank you, Steve. So we'll bang a pot for the Steve, the Meister. So I'll give you guys time to get to Havoc Master's channel, Havoc Master 69. I am absolutely sure that is the name, if it hasn't changed. Havoc Master 69 is the name. Salamat. Okay, so let's bang a pot. Because when you bang a pot, see that symbol in the front? This is the Philippines version of earning pesos the old-fashioned way. Giving people information, having a few laughs along the way, and enjoying Sunday live streaming, and being able to tell the truth in a roundabout way rather than being afraid to tell the truth on YouTube, and the truth will set you free. So let's bang a pot. We made a lot today, I'll tell you that. Made a lot more than some of the other people and a lot less than others, but that is nothing to worry about. So bang a pot, make a lot. Bang a pot with a pot. Bang a pot with a black pot. Salamat. Thank you. Thank you very much. And we have come full circle. And let's talk about the Catholic Church now. The Vatican, more precisely, otherwise known as the doctrine of the Philippines. We're only going to talk about that for a minute. I read recently that the Pope, in what is called an encyclical, thank you, Steve, by the way, thank you very much. I read that the Pope put out an encyclical stating that he agrees in some cases with capital punishment, but that's not the point I wanted to make. The Pope also made it perfectly clear that he wants the agenda of the United Nations to be instituted and implemented worldwide. The United Nations has a plan called the Green New Deal, which is not beneficial to humanity itself, where the United Nations controls all worldwide, globally, all countries, all nations, all water supplies, all foods, all housing, how much electric you can use per person, how many people can live in a house. Oh, you didn't know about that? Oh, yeah, they have rules that, let's say you have a house and you have a gutter on the house where you collect rainwater. Whoa, you can go to jail for that now. You can literally go to jail for collecting rainwater because you are interfering with rivers and streams. It's considered like building a dam without permits to build a dam. But more than that, let's say you have a big house. They tried to do this in the Florida Keys back in 2008 when they destroyed the economy. But they wanted it to be that if you had a big house, more than a certain amount of square feet, that other people were going to be placed into your house with you to live with you in your house. So time I had a 2-story house in Key Largo, and it was a rentable basement, which I did have renters in for most of the time when I could get a decent renter. But if they decided that they didn't make enough income from you for that basement, they were going to put a family, basically Mexico or Cuba, in that basement apartment. And you would not have the say-so. And it was Section 8. You can go underneath Section 8 housing. Well, the Pope just recently agreed with all of these crazy plans that they have. The New World Order has these plans, New Deal. They want to eliminate automobiles, gasoline engines by the year 2030. They wish to eliminate how much water you can consume per person. They wish to cut back on that. They wish to eliminate how much meat you can consume per person, how many kilos of meat you can consume, unless you're a giant food chain like McDonald's or Burger King. Then they can sell as much meat as they want, but they want you to have to buy it from them because of the chemicals they put in the food to make it better for you, which reduces the length of your life expectancy by probably several years, as well as lack of exercise, lack of sunlight, lack of swimming, where the salt water rejuvenates your electrolytes. You got to go swimming. You got to get out in the sun, and you got to move around, and if you can, walk backwards, because it strengthens your lower back, your shoulder muscles, and the front side of your legs, the thighs, and in front of the calves. It builds up muscles that you don't use walking forward. It's like any other thing. If you don't use it, it atrophies and disappears. And you can see that it's very noticeable on certain people that they have no muscle tone, so to speak, because they don't get enough exercise. And this lockdown is causing that as well. The lack of exercise, the lack of sunlight, the lack of people's ability to go swimming. How does swimming in an ocean affect what they call the dissemination of microparticles of bacteria? How does that happen? You're out 30, 40, 50, 60 feet offshore, swimming, snorkeling, scuba diving. They have effectively shut down all swimming. You're allowed to swim here in Bohol, but for a while you weren't allowed. But the locals went swimming for their fish every day. So swimming was not allowed, but they didn't clamp down on it the same way they did in Cebu. In Cebu, there was no swimming, not for divers, not for fishermen, not for somebody going for looking for shells or shellfish or conch or anything like that. Here on the island of Panglao, they never restricted that to the point of eliminating it. Now, I heard they did on the island of Bohol, but they are effectively shutting down your ability to get food anywhere but the food stores. And if you go to a food store, all they have is food with chemicals that I don't care if it's only 0.01% of the food. It's a chemical. Can you take that chemical, put it in a shot glass, and drink an ounce of that chemical? No. 99.99% of those chemicals, if you consume them by themselves as a liquid or a powder, and consumed 1 ounce of just that chemical by itself, you'd be dead in seconds. But they put it in your food, the preservatives and the anticoagulants and all of that stuff. So that's all part of what the Pope wants to take place worldwide. We're not talking about Philippines, we're talking about worldwide. The Pope agrees with the agenda of the United Nations, the WHO, the Club of Rome, the Masons, the Illuminati, the Rockefeller Foundation, and especially from the gates of hell himself, Mr. Microsoft. They want you to stop consuming everything that they're not supplying. So when I went into 7-Eleven yesterday in Alona Beach, it's a side issue, kind of, but it's not exactly a side issue. They no longer have fresh fruits or vegetables in the 7-Eleven. That used to be an option. Apples, oranges, bananas, whatever fruits and vegetables of the day for the tourists to take out on the boats. That's all gone now. They don't have an ice cream machine working, and they don't have an ice machine working. So there are no more ice cream cones, even though it's manufactured product from a container. That's what I wanted, because just what I felt like having an ice cream yesterday. It was the first time I felt like eating ice cream, and when I went in to get one, the machines were shut off, and I looked around the store. It was empty. I mean, this is a store that you could wait 20 minutes online for a year ago. A year ago today, you'd wait 20 minutes online. and there were 3 cash register people. The tourists would come in. I've seen Japanese people with 200 or 300 items in their bag, in their cart, because they were buying for the group of tourists that they were with. So it takes time. Yesterday, I walked into the 7-Eleven. I asked for the cone, the ice. No, sir. But you can buy a prepackaged ice cream in a paper wrapper, like you buy from Bungalow Bar or Mr. Good Humor, but nothing fresh. And the size of the cones is probably 25% smaller than they were a year ago. And I never did get a price because I'm not interested in buying that product. But I looked at you look at the ingredients, it wouldn't be anything I would eat. So in at least the cone, I felt like having an ice cream cone. I couldn't even get one of those. Thank you again, Steve. Bo Knows Entertainment. If anybody knows about the Pope. Now, here's a channel who is equal or surpassed unto my own when it comes to being censored. Bo Knows Entertainment. And I consider Bo a friend. We used to talk sometimes 2 or 3 or 4 hours a week back in the year, after the year 2010, 2009. We used to talk a lot, Bo and I. But his channel is probably the most censored channel. He's got 23,000 subscribers. And what Bo does is he reads the headlines of many different newspapers, and then he picks out, most of the articles he picks out are corruption in politics, including the pedophilia of the politicians. And if a police agency or a captain or a lawyer or a judge is accused of pedophilia, Bo will read the article. He will read the articles from other countries about pedophilia. His venue is to expose politicians, lawyers, judges, and corrupt cops for what they are, corrupt. And Bo's channel, he only reads the headlines. He doesn't add any of his influence, sometimes a little sarcastic remark here or there. You could hear an innuendo in his voice, and he will bring you to places, and then at the bottom of the article will be like 200 links of his previous 200 expose or conversations about corrupt politicians and corrupt cops, corrupt mayors, corrupt governors, corrupt institutions. And I want to talk to you about that. I didn't want to make it part of today's discussion, but before I do, please, if you're not subscribed to Bo Knows Entertainment and you want to see someone that scours the newspapers every day for the most egregious crimes committed against children and or people in general, go to Bo Knows Entertainment. Thank you very much, Bo, for stopping by. Thank you. I appreciate that. You have been a good friend and a long-term friend, and certainly one of the best channels to get information from in that genre of pedophilia, child molestation, corrupt judges, cops, police officers, politicians especially, right up into the Vatican, because the Vatican is probably one of the most corrupt institutions at this point that has a big power base in the world. And you know this to be true because Bo will give you 100 articles where a priest is accused. This goes back into the 70s. A priest will be accused of child molestation. This is the truth. And what the policy of the church was is to deny it, number one, or pay the parents and the child off as a last resort. But they never excommunicated the priest from the priesthood. They would just take that priest and they'd put him in a foreign country, Guatemala, Africa, where no one would ever find out about the sickness that moved through that priest's mind. Now, they don't have that so much here in the Philippines because The Filipino people are very peaceful and quiet people for the most part, but if you screw around with their children, they take that very personal, and well, they should. And here, um, I've never heard of a priest in the Philippines molesting a child, but have heard of it, and no children in America that it happened to, that I grew up with. Not me, but people I grew up with that were in Catholic school. I went to a public school. So Bo exposes all of that, and he does it well. And he'll read the entire, what he finds necessary of the article, and then he'll leave the link in the description box, and then he'll move to the next article. He does 3 or 4 or 5 of those a day sometimes. And he also has a show, I think it's Wednesday nights, if he wants to correct me. I think it was Wednesday nights. He does the Bo and Rocco show, if it's still the Bo and Rocco show, where he has some live guests on occasionally, but he has interesting topic matter on the show. He used to be teamed up with and I think it was an actual lawyer, woman named Tammy Pepperman, if I remember correctly. And Tammy Pepperman and Bo both studied what is called admiralty law, or the law that we are under in America, and how it's different from what you think the court systems are. And Bo knows all the terminology. Like, you go to the court and you enter into the docks, DOCKS, just between the gate, and you enter through into the docks. He knows all that terminology. I don't know any of that stuff. I just know they're all corrupt in America. So thank you. All right, so let's see. Hope if you haven't gotten to Bo's channel, please check that out. Let's see. Flying Circus. Okay, wait. Bono's Entertainment. The Pope is just another tool for the agenda as I see it. Oh, he's the big tool. The big tool. Well, I'll talk about the Pope Ratzenberger. Let's talk about Pope Ratzenberger. Okay, so for his whole life, he accused people that were gay of committing some sort of sin in the church. And he ridiculed gay people for being gay. And in the church, outside the church, Pope Ratzenberger was very outspoken against the homosexuals and the lesbian movement. And yet, all the time he was outspoken about gays and lesbians and the LBG community, he was a gay man living and making mad, passionate man love to his butler, who he eventually moved in with. He's the only pope to resign, and he resigned from the popehood, what I call it the poophood, P-O-O-P, poophood. He resigned from that so he could live a lavish lifestyle with his butler, and that's spelled B-U-T-T-L-E-R, not B-U-T-L-E-R, butler. And Pope Ratzenberger was outspoken against the gay community and the lesbian community, and yet the hypocrisy was demonstrative, and he allowed himself to be a gay man and still speak out about the gays and the lesbian community. So the hypocrisy in the church, there's no end to it. Now, if you Google $100 million settlement from the Vatican, where 225 children proven were molested, the church dished out $100 million to the families of those children, with the caveat that they would never speak about it publicly. So the churches, that $100 million is only part of several billion dollars, not millions, several billion dollars that has been dished out to families where their children have been molested since the 1950s. I think the whole total of payoffs from the church exceeds $5 billion. And that's over 50 years. So it's $1 billion a year to relocate the priests and pay off the families for their silence. And yet you don't read about that in the paper. So that goes on even till today, but I've never heard of a case of child molestation by a priest in the Philippines ever. Never heard of it. I've asked people if they thought that happened. They said, no, it doesn't happen here, which is a good thing. And but Bo covers these stories. Now, Bo might know something that I don't know, but I'm a stickler for asking people questions when I'm walking around, and they'll tell you the answer if they know it. For instance, yesterday I had to get a load from my phone, and I asked the girl that gave me the load and the man who took the money, do you know anybody that has the virus? And they said no. Both of them said no. And I said, do you believe the virus is real? And they said, absolutely. Because they don't have the ability to go on the internet and research stuff like we do. I mean, we are now seeing many, many scientists and data that's coming out all over the world that Fauci just posted something just recently that the mask is not healthy for you because you're breathing in some of your own carbon dioxide. But this is what Fauci said. This is not me. And also the germs, the spit that comes out of your mouth the next day when you put the mask on and it smells funny, that's bacteria. So you're breathing in bacteria all day. So they are coming out with the statistics that when Fauci said it's not good to wear the mask in America, he had a duplicity of reasons. One was it's because of the bacteria and the carbon dioxide, but the other one was so that the health professionals would have masks, because apparently America, that was once the great empire and industrial center of the world, can't make paper cloth masks or handkerchiefs. So Bo Knows Entertainment will cover that kind of article. Flying circuses, I use different muscles when I sit on the toilet backwards. Whoa, I got to try that. Holy macaroni, I never thought about that. You could, yeah, thank you, Flying Circus. Salamat. That's right, you could play cards. You have the toilet tank, the Johnny, the that is so cool. I never thought, see, every day you learn something new on my channel, as opposed to people that have nothing to say. A lot of people, and this is not just YouTubers in the Philippines, but a lot of people, they don't have anything to say that's really worthwhile to listen to. I know it, and the more bullshit that they put up on their channel about nothingness, the bigger their audience. I don't get it. Oh, there is one caveat that I don't allow. I don't have the ability to have people on my panel. I wish I could, but I can't buy the computer I want so that I could put that program or app in the computer. And if I did, I think that most of my friends wouldn't want to come on here anyway. And as far as putting people that you don't know in a live stream, that's problematic. That is problematic. That is very problematic. So there are so many people that have absolutely nothing of value to say. They don't bring any new ideas. And this is all different, not just the Philippines community, but the guys that do this in America, or the girls that do this in America, and the guys and girls in the Philippines. They don't really have much to say. They're not going to say much. They don't say anything, in fact. And the one exception to the rule is the Hapsters. They do walkabouts on the island of Hawaii where they live, and they show you the water and the beaches and the forests and the jungles. But that's the one exception that I could think of off the top of my head that do live streams that actually bring you information. Now, she also loads videos, but she shows you the beaches, the tide coming in, tide going out, the fish next to the rock jetties. That's the only other live stream on YouTube that I would even turn on, even for a minute. There's nothing else. I mean, to hear, oh, to hear trolls. There are a lot of trolls, but to hear somebody with four people on the live stream and everybody's talking over one another in different foreign accents, and some of them are laughing and some of them are talking and some of them got music playing in the background and some of them have children playing in the background or with them, which is really, it's good, but it also takes away from the live stream itself. If you have a child banging something on the table next to the microphone, that's not real conducive to getting your point across. But then again, you can listen to those live streams for 8 or 10 hours a week and not learn anything. I mean, there's just nothing that's of any interest for me. I like to learn new things. I can't learn new things on live streams except, like I said, that one exception is the Hapsters. Other than that, most of the people in the Philippines, they just sit there and talk like I'm talking, but they talk about nothing. And they're afraid to show their face. A lot of people are afraid to show their face, which is, I find, in and of itself abusive. If you want me to come watch you, I want to see your face. I find that to be the part of the show that's probably the most interesting. So the ones that show their face have nothing to talk about, and the ones that don't show their face pretty much have nothing to talk about at all. And then there is the troll factor, where people are allowing people with no videos, no accounts, no content to leave any kind of comment they want about anybody else, whether it's true or not, provable or not. That's bullshit. Okay, that's just bullshit. You want to let people on your channel that you don't know who they are talk on a screen without showing their face, and they say whatever they want on the channel? No, I don't think that's educational. I don't think it's interesting, and I don't think it's a healthy environment, because you can get any one of those trolls that will throw up a porno movie when you're not watching, and your channel will get a strike for hardcore porn and maybe get deleted. So that's possible too, that can happen. So, and that's happened to people before. So I would like to have people on my show, but I don't, for those reasons. And if I ever do end up, because I still can't buy that computer, when I get that computer, well, let's go back. Let me read these 5 comments and go back to what I was talking about as far as commerce is concerned. Scott Del Fuego, I tried doing something else backwards, but my girlfriend got indigent. Indigent. That's a good way of putting it. They want you not alive. They want you not alive. That's right. That's what they want. And their plan is to have that accomplished. Now, I have a video on the screen here where the government, I don't know that I'll give you the link. The government in America, in Europe, in Australia, this is coming. Let's say you're deeply in debt for a house or a loan, a bank loan, a business loan. The government will wipe your slate clean. If you owed $1 million, $2 million, they will wipe your slate clean. You will owe them nothing. However, it will be mandatory that you get the jabba dabba do. That's going to be mandatory. And you also have to sign an agreement to give up your house and possessions therein that you can't take with you. And you have to sign an agreement that you will never own anything again. Not a car, not a house, not a camper van, nothing. And you will go into public housing. And that's where you will live for the duration of your life. I'll give you that link right now. Okay, this is what's happening in Canada today. So, okay, let me get my mouse working over here. Okay, I don't want to start this yet. Okay, I don't want to.
Yeah, easy. That's crazy.
What happened?
Delivery system, and you throw some membranes. That's crazy. That's crazy business. And I would not doubt it. And I'm not going to trust Big Pharma.
They won't shut off. Some of them. These guys, they got this so that you can't shut it off. They are doing a lot of stuff on YouTube that's really creepy shit. Tell you that. Okay, so let's find that tyranny title. I have it set for this. These people. The name of the video. I'll just give this to you. Let me give it to you straight. Yeah. The channel is Grindall, GRINDALL 61. The video was posted October 17th. And do they let me post it? Did they look at what they did to Grindall's channel? Look, see that initiating bar? They won't let you see the comments. They won't let the video play now either. It's circling. So anybody that tells the truth, and this video is pretty damn scary truth. I'm gonna give you the name of the video. I'm gonna put it in the link. I want you to go here, and if you're not subscribed to Grindall 61, please do so. And it would be really advantageous if you actually watch this video as well, because this is the plan for Europe and America soon. I had a perfect spot on this. I had the absolute perfect spot on this channel for the picture. It just said tyranny, but it was it's what's happening. All right, so here is the link. Okay. LaRue, welcome to the machine. Thank you for stopping by. LaRue, I've seen that you have posted at least 4 videos in the last 3 days, and I'm not really watching many videos, LaRue. I was planning on, I did some live streams with a friend of mine named Digger. That will only be, of course, I did some uploads with Digger and the Digger. I don't know if can we get the Digger over here? Where is the Digger? Where the hell did I put Digger? He's around here somewhere. Maybe. Digger. We have the original Digger, 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 and he was building. Believe it or not, Digger, this is the original Digger. Digger was building sandcastles on the beach yesterday and tunneling under the sandcastles. That's why he has his little bag with him, so he could keep the sand off of his presidential looking suit. So this is the original digger that came to make America great again and hope and change. He never did any of that, but that was the plan. He did do a lot. He did a lot of that. He did a lot of changing, and you were hoping he wouldn't change it. When he did change it, you were hoping it wasn't going to be the change that you didn't want. But Mr. Obama had his way with America, let's so to speak. And also, Mr. Obama, he did supply you with change, and that's all you got left from his administration after they had the economic meltdown of 2008, 2009, where hundreds of millions of people lost their houses and their businesses. Mr. Obama, hope and change. So last month, we took Mr. Obama scuba diving, and yesterday we took Mr. Obama to the shoreline, and he was digging and digging and digging, making sand castles, and he got buried a few times where all you could see was just an ear sticking up out of the sand. And everybody knows what Mr. Obama's ear looks like. And I would just grab him by the ear like they used to do in school and pull him out of the mud. Mr. Obama is the original digger. Yesterday he was digging. I don't have those videos loaded, and no one will ever see those on YouTube. Those are my personal excavation with President Obama videos. I might be able to share one with somebody in a few days. I have to review those videos, but that's the original digger. And of course, we have Digger 2.0, who got buried a month ago. He actually got buried, but he got out. And Digger 2.0, we will not put Digger 2.0 in the mud or the sand or the dirt, because Digger has voice controlled electronics. And also anti-gravity boots. So we have dolls. I should talk about dolls, because I heard some troll on YouTube saying that real men don't play with dolls. I heard that. And now I'll give you the disclaimer on real men do play with dolls. If it were not for somebody called Walt Disney, in case you've ever heard of him, creating hundreds of different dolls and versions of dolls, and Walt Disney himself being a whittler, carver of wood, and making the original Pinocchio, I think it was, doll. If it were not for Walt Disney and the dolls and puppets and the hundreds of thousands of people that Walt Disney has employed over the last 70 years, where would the world be without those dolls? There'd be no Disneyland and no Disney World. If it were not for Steven Spielberg, what, do you really think that E.T. or the aliens in any of those movies are real? They're not real. That's hallucination. That's imagination. That's creativity. If it were not for Steven Spielberg, without his dolls, where would that movie Close Encounters of the Third Kind be? Or E.T. Go Home, without their dolls? And who do you think makes these dolls? 90% of all fabricators of dolls and latex masks and alien space creatures and puppets and puppeteers, 90% are all men. So as a disclaimer to the guy that gets everything backwards, real men do play with dolls. And some men are more successful playing with their dolls than others. And you'll know the success of your doll play by the people that follow you and the people that give you feedback. I mean, I have never heard a story, except there's a new troll I have. He likes to say these egregious things. We won't say what he says, but I assure you, the troll's name has been around 4 or 5 months, but the troll himself has been around 4 or 5 years, and he says nothing but negative stuff on my channel, to the point where I let the first and second comment go, but by the time I got to the third or fourth or fifth comment, I had to just go to his channel and block him. So what purpose does that serve? Now he might be posting, he might not be posting, but I blocked him. See, that's another thing. Let's just take some of the other shows. The Hapsters has a good show. They show you stuff. Steve Montelli is an interesting man, and gets sometimes 100 people on his show. But listening to Steve Montelli, you could grow old before he gets to your comment. And I like Steve. I enjoy Steve's show. Steve enjoys my show. And I had hoped to meet Steve when he was in the Philippines. He would be one of the few people I would want to meet. But sometimes it takes Steve 2 or 3 hours to get down to your comment. So if you want to participate in Steve's show, that's cool. But Steve just sits in a room and talks. He did one live stream last year with a girl at a bar out looking at the motorcycles outside. That was interesting. That was a live stream. He did that. I like that. But for the most part, Steve Montelli is not able to do live streams because of where he lives. So, but I won't watch that kind of show. I go there, I say, Steve, by the time you read this comment, I will have left a thumbs up, and I'll either be sleeping or I'll be gone, because I don't have that kind of time to watch a 3-hour live stream with trolls. And there are trolls on his channel. There are trolls on most channels. I have a troll-free show, and I have great wrenches, what is called a wrench. They don't allow it. By the time I get to the troll comment, it's already gone. They know what is allowed and what is not allowed. So let me get to one of the comments. Hello, LaRue Seagrass. That's okay, host Michael, as long as you'll be there to watch it. I am thankful for that. Okay, well, thank you, LaRue, for stopping by. And LaRue Seagrass, if you're a religious person and serious, a devout Catholic or Christian, and you want to see a person that is supremely influenced by the study of the Bible and Jesus and God, LaRue Seagrass is a great channel to go to and talk about your religious fervor with. So I highly recommend LaRue's channel. And a lot of my friends are on LaRue's channel as well. Okay, so Canada comes under the articles. Oh, Bo knows entertainment. He's still with us. Now, Bo knows. So this Bo knows. Canada comes under the Articles of Confederation, Article 11, JFYI. What you think you know is not so. You need the Nancy Pelosi doll, I think, makes a great chew toy for pets too. So that's an idea. I have a Clinton doll. I don't know where I put that little woman, but I should dig her out. I should do doll day with the Fazio. And but I am taking Digger to the beach again. Apparently there was a little schmutz on my camera lens. Could have been a droplet of salt water. So a couple of those videos, they're not so good. But I'm going to Digger. He loves the beach, and the beach loves Digger, and Digger loves digging on the beach because Digger is a good digger. He's like the #1 digger in the whole world, and was so for 8 years. So let's go back to my next topic. There is no commerce, I talked about this before, other than food and medicine moving anywhere in the Philippines. And if I could order a computer that came from Manila, it would be 6 or 5 or 6 or 7 weeks of days, business days, but they will not. The one item I left out about them shipping the computer, they had the computer in Manila, but they would not ship the computer FedEx. They said due to whatever restrictions the Philippines has on commerce, The computer had to be shipped by their container to Cebu. And then from Cebu, the container had to get unloaded and then shipped to Bohol, however that happened. So that could be 4 or 5 or 6 weeks, but maybe more, depending on when the cargo container comes. So there was no definitive answer. I'm going to drink a whole bottle. Oh boy, I can't do that. I don't have a whole bottle. It's handy. Holy macaroni. Put all those bottles in. I'll get a bottle of cold water. Let me take it out so it's not so. I tried it cold last time. I'm afraid. I'm afraid of drinking a whole bottle of cold water. It freezes up your throat. Where is my bottle of water? 1 bottle of water? Just one? No. No bottles. Whole bottles, yes. 1 bottle, no. Oh, boy. This bottle. I'm going to drink this bottle. I'm going to tempt fate. I'm going to drink this whole bottle of water, and I'm going to take my chances of drowning from 700 milliliters of water. And as Warren Hunt pointed out, it's not drowning. You don't drown if you drink too much water, unless you breathe it into your lungs. What happens is you get water poisoning, too much water. But that would take, I don't know, man, my size. I think it would take several liters of water, probably more than 2 quarts to drink it instantly, just down it, maybe 3 quarts, maybe a gallon in an hour. I don't know. I never got it before, but I heard these stories about people drowning from drinking too much water. That's only if you put it in your lungs. So Bono's Entertainment, let's get him back over here. Read the comment. I can't watch. Yeah, you'll watch. You'll watch Mr. Obama being the #1 digger in the world. Mr. Obama. Michael Fazio. Steve Montelli likes Mr. Obama. Mr. Obama is the #1 digger that ever lived. I mean, he dug America into a hole that we will never get out of. The economic system collapse in America was Mr. Obama, happened on Mr. Obama's watch, because he could dig like no other digger ever dug before. He's the world's #1 digger and was so for 8 years. No offense, Digger 2.0, but you will never be close to the Digger. But Digger has other features that allow him to walk upside down on the bottom of the flat earth. But that's a story for another day. Let's go on to the next topic that I have here. And 4 hours wait time in the bank. 4 hours. Philippines, Island, Philippines. I have a bank account in that bank, and I don't even know what the name of the bank is. Let me look up the name of the bank. I'm gonna give you a bank. Banks in the Philippines. BANKS in the Philippines. Should pop right up. I'm going to give you the name of a bank that has got to be, I mean, by far, the worst bank to do business with in the Philippines. I mean, there is no such thing as a worse bank that I've ever been in. Bank in the Philippines. I've never been in. Doesn't mean they hold your money and they give you your money when you get to it, but where is the Citibank, Philippines Veterans, Philippines Bank of Communication? Where is this bank? What is the name of that damn bank? I have a bank account, Philippines Veterans. No, that's not it. Bank of America Bank. Why can't they just do this? Banco, Philippines National Bank. Top 10 thrift banks, Philippine Savings Bank. They might have changed the name. Well, I'll just tell you where it is and how long you can wait in that bank. It's in the ICM Mall. Let me see if I can find it. You know, they don't even have a logo of the bank on the list of. All right, they don't have a logo on the list of banks on this. I really want to find this bank so you know what bank to never do business with. Commercial banks, 25 banks. List of banks in the field. We'll try this. And if not, I'll just tell you that this bank is in the ICM Mall. It's right across the hallway from the bookstore. It's on the main floor, and you can go into that bank at 10 o'clock in the morning and wait in that bank for 4 hours. You'll get a number. Oh, I can't find that bank. I saw it. I haven't been in that bank in years. I have an account there, but I just don't go in the bank. It's gone. So either that or they changed the name. This is crazy. So it's a big bank. There's bank types of banks in the Philippines, top 10 banks, and we'll try that, top 10 banks, because it might even be a top 10 bank. Let's see. Ranking, but they make everything difficult, the internet here. The internet here just sucks. You'll look up banks and you'll get an article for, shoes. The best banks in the Philippines, 2020, August, the best banks in the Philippines. This is another thing that just sucks in the Philippines, the internet. When you look for something, it will not bring you. It's not bringing me to the bank page. It's bringing me to an advertisement for investments. BPI. There it is. BPI. Bravo Papa India. Bravo Papa India. BPI Family Banks. BPI. See how long it took me to find the name of a bank? Okay, so this bank here that I'm going to give you the name of, wasn't that Obama an attorney? Of course he was. Yeah. But Bono's and but Obama and his friend Michelle, and I use that term loosely, were both attorneys, and both of them were disbarred for some sort of corruption, if I remember correctly. I remember his wife got disbarred for something that she said that wasn't true, and I do believe Obama lost his bar association combination, certificate as well. So the name of that bank. So if you go into the BPI bank, and there is a new one in Alona Beach, and I'm going to post that as a 4-hour. Okay, so it takes 4 hours or 5 hours, 4 or 5 hours to set up a bank account in that bank. 4 or 5 hours to set up a bank account. Now, that's if you have every piece of information that they require. So I'll give you the information that you need to set up a bank account, and then I'll tell you how long it'll take to fill out the paperwork, and I'm going to tell you how long it will take to get your bank book, and how long it will take to get your credit card or debit card. So in that bank, that was the first bank I set up an account with in 2015. Okay, so the first thing you need is you have to have your ACR card and your passport, and it has to be up to date. So, second thing is that if you haven't been in the country for 6 months, you couldn't set up a bank account. So you had to wait 6 months to be in the country in order to apply for a bank account or a debit card in the Philippines. Now, in the meantime, each time you do a transaction with your credit card, you pay $5 in any bank in the Philippines. Now, Gary Kennedy from My Philippines Experience, not experience, my Philippines Experience, he said there was another bank in the Philippines, but we don't have a branch of that bank in Bohol. So he said there was one where you could use your credit card for free. But either way, any credit card transaction where you debit money from your account in America, the maximum allowable pesos to be removed is 10,000 pesos. 10,000 pesos is $200 per transaction. The maximum per day is 25,000 pesos. So that's 3 transactions to get $500 out of the bank. And that's all credit cards. So if you needed $500, it's going to cost you $15 to get it out of your American bank account. Now, if you want to set up a bank account in the Philippines, it takes 4 hours of paperwork, and I'm not exaggerating. They have a list of stuff: fingerprints, identification verification, that you give them identification, they go verify it, and they come back an hour later, and then they give you the next piece of paper to fill out. And all this time, you're sitting in the bank. You cannot leave the bank. You cannot walk out the door to go get lunch or breakfast or a snack or a cup of coffee. If you walk out of the bank, you want to hear how stupid these rules are? If you walk out of the bank, you have to come in and start the process over again. I'm not lying to you. I did this with another bank where I said, look, how long is it going to be? They said, wait a while. That's another thing that you want to drive you up a wall. They say, wait a while. Could be a minute, could be an hour. And they don't tell you, even if they know how long it is. If you ask, they just tell you, link or wait a while. They won't answer your question. It's very annoying. So you could be doing other things, but they want you to wait a while. So if you go in to set up a bank account, bring your snacks with you and your drink, because you're not allowed to leave the bank once you start the process of setting up the card. How stupid is this rule? I don't know. So when I wanted to go to the BQ Mall to get something, do some food shopping, because she said it might be 45 minutes. No, I said, I'll be back. No, sir. What do you mean, no, sir? No, sir. Not allowed. Not allowed what? I want to go do some food shopping. I'll be back after. No, you cannot leave, or we have to start the paperwork over again. I got the manager, and the manager said, those are the rules. I'm going, are you serious? Really? They were serious. So I waited. Okay, so now you fill out the paperwork. Then you wait 30 days. Well, you have to give them a deposit of 10,000 pesos. You can never take that out. And if it goes below 10,000 pesos each month, it's a $12.90 service fee. Now, $13 a month if it goes below 10,000 pesos. So in that bank, I have 10,900 pesos, because it's just a minimum amount of money, because they gave me, I had a lot more, but I took it all out. And they just jerked me around so badly to get a debit card. I waited 3 hours only to find out that their computer system wasn't online that day. So I started filling out the paperwork, and I was there for 3 hours. And then they said, sir, when are we going to be done? The computer's not online today. Maybe come back tomorrow. I said, no, I'll come back tomorrow and I'll take out everything but 10,000 pesos. Okay. They didn't care. They don't care. It's not their bank. They don't make any more or less money. They didn't give me any argument. When I went back to the bank a few days later and waited online for 3 hours, I got the money and I moved it into another bank. Same rules, 10,000 peso minimum. But so when you're waiting in the bank for 4 hours, if you ask the guard at the door, who's been the guard at the door for 6.5 years that I know, how long will it be? Approximately, how long is the wait? I don't know, sir. Just wait a while. This guy, he only does this. He's the guard at the door. He knows when a person walks in and when a person walks out. They're very attentive, the guards. Sir, I can't tell you. Approximately. Sir, I don't know. Well, like a guess, 1 hour or 2 hours. Sir, I cannot tell you. They won't tell you. That's their rules. They're not allowed to tell you how long it's going to be. So what you can do is ask somebody that's walking out the door, how long were you in the bank for? And they'll tell you 3 hours. Well, what time did you get your number? 3 hours ago. So when you get your number, you know you come back in 3 hours. But here's the really screwed up thing about the Philippines bank. So you have your money in the bank, right? If you want to take it out, they give it to you, no problem. It's not a problem. You want to put it in, it's no problem. But what is a problem is if you want to transfer money with a check from your American bank account to your Philippines bank account, they tell you it's going to take 30 days. 30 days. And you fill out the paperwork, because that's another set of paperwork that you have to fill out in order to transfer money to the Philippines. And that takes 3 hours to fill out that paperwork only. The original bank book, the original debit card, credit card. Well, there is no credit card. That's a debit card. The original card, the original bank account took 3 or 4 hours. Now you want to have a checking account where you could deposit a check. It takes 30 business days, but it could take longer. So I have put checks in the bank, brought them to the bank, said, I want to put this check, this amount of money in this account. Yes, sir. How long will it take to get the money into my account? 30 days, sir. They all say 30 days. They all lie straight to your face. Look you straight in the eye and tell you 30 days. But it's not 30 days. It's 30 business days or thereabouts. So it could be 45 days. And if you want to wait 45 days for your money, then your money's in the Philippines. Then you can take it out, and it only costs 34 cents for a withdrawal from an ATM machine, as opposed to $5 each time you take money out of the account. Is $5 from your American bank account, and if you use an ATM machine, it's 34 cents to take out $200. So 34, 68, and 16 is 78. So it costs you 84 cents to take out $500. But you can take out as much as you want. So 84 cents or $15. It's up to you. They'll give you all your money. They don't have a problem with you going in and getting your money. That's never been a problem. But the 3 hour wait time in the bank is not reasonable. And BPI Bank is a 3 or 4 or 5 hour wait time, and their computers are down more often than you would believe computers go down. Okay, we don't have any more interesting comments. So we're going to... Okay, I'll go back to my notes. We talked about walking at night. Facebook censors. Facebook is got to be one of the most worthless one of the most worthless things in this world that's consuming everybody's lifestyle to the point where you have lost your effing mind to be on Facebook all day long so that you can look for a thumbs up or an emoji smile. It has to be the worst effing thing that has ever happened to the world, bar none. I have 92 requests, sometimes in a few days, for new Facebook friends, for somebody that wants to become friends with me on Messenger, someone that wants to say hello, that I don't know who they are, who they were. I have 92 requests last month, 92. Yesterday, I'll tell you what it was yesterday, 92 requests. Let's see what it was yesterday. It's the most worthless media that anybody could ever go on, Facebook. I don't care. I don't care about that. It brings friends together. It doesn't bring anything together. What it does, it destroys your life. And then the people I'm talking about know who I'm talking about. And I'm not going to retract that statement one bit. I have people that I don't know who they are. I have no idea. They go, "Hey, Mike, how you doing?" 42 requests in the last 3 days. 42. 92 last month. And one person I actually know, and I responded last month and said, "How you doing?" And I never got a response back. So what's the point of being on Facebook? But if you're on Facebook and you think you have friends there and you think that posting 15 or 20 articles about the presidency or Biden or the politics, it does nothing. It does nothing. I have more content about politics than any 10 YouTubers as far as comedy videos and what I told you what was coming down the pike. I have more than 99% of all YouTubers. Then I'm still on YouTube, even though I put that content up on YouTube. Nobody has done more, nobody did more than to try to not let Obama become president. Nobody had done more. Nobody that's still on YouTube has done more. People, they posted an article. This is when YouTube used to be able to read an article, like Bono's Entertainment. But nobody affected Obama becoming president, even though he wasn't qualified to be president. No one ever proved that his qualifications allowed him to be president. Trump said he was going to look into that. He never did. Trump has run a New World Order globalist Trump puppet. He's a puppet of the New World Order. Let's face what Trump is. Nobody's ideas or ideology posted on Facebook is ever going to change anything. And there's another problem, and it caused a big problem this week, and I don't care if the problem ever gets solved. But you go on Facebook, your phone doesn't allow phone calls into your phone while you're on Facebook. Now, I tried to get in touch with a friend of mine for a very long time, several dozen days. I got through once. That's not acceptable, that you spend your entire life on Facebook posting bullshit that nobody reads. Now, I have a friend of mine from childhood who posts 30, 40, 50 times a day on Facebook, sometimes. for what purpose does it serve? Some of them are, let's have a beer, let's grab a beer, and it's some stupid joke that you've heard regurgitated 100 different ways in 10 different places. Okay, what point does it actually serve to be on Facebook? None. There is no point to Facebook other than to gather the way the human mind of the diminished intellectuals that go on Facebook itself. Now, my friend that posts 30 or 40 or 50 times a day on Facebook, I just deleted that account. I don't want to see that crap. Just one person. And he was probably one of the smartest people I knew growing up. And he's become a Facebook zombie. Facebook is a piece of shit that rots your mind and doesn't do a damn thing for you at the end of the day. No, it doesn't help you intellectually to see what is called a narcotic high, an adrenaline rush. A social media rush is when people give you a thumbs up or a heart. Now, I do that for a specific reason. Whether I like the comment or not, typically I give it a heart, which means I read it and I don't have to read it again. Comments that I don't like where they're coming from, I either delete them or I don't acknowledge them. I let the people have their opinion. I did that just recently on here. If you don't follow me enough to know the answers to those questions, you're not going to get me to break my train of thought to answer questions that everybody knows about. Okay, so Scott Del Fuego, people, now this Scott Del Fuego holds a high position in real life, and he's a very intelligent man. That's why I call him the wordsmith, but he's also been a good friend, and we interact with each other in construction knowledge and just chatting, and we have done so for multiple years now. So Scott has something to say. People just waste so much time on Facebook that they rarely follow through with anything they say they will do. It's just a huge information mine for the New World Order. That's Scott. Now, there's a man who knows what Facebook is, because that's what it is. I touched on the part where Facebook is, if you've ever had an addiction to alcohol or drugs or caffeine or cigarettes, at some point during the day, you'll want to have a drink. And in a video I posted to my friends yesterday, I talked about the alcoholism in the Philippines, but it'll never go past my personal friends. And if it does, it's because they shared it with someone who they shouldn't have shared it with, but that's life in the Philippines, baby. But at some point, the need for an alcoholic beverage, a cigarette, or a narcotic, whether it's, well, marijuana is not a narcotic, but caffeine is. At some point, you get, I don't know all the terms because I don't really know much about addiction. Your addiction makes you want to do that thing. Could be smoking cigarettes, could be smoking other drugs. There are people that smoke something called shabu here in the Philippines. I've never seen it done. I've heard about it. I don't know how it's done, but they do it, and that's an addiction. But Facebook is an addiction even superior to that of drugs, because you're looking for a thumbs up. You're looking for somebody to say, look what he did. Look at that article. They don't, if you went to, I don't care who you are, go to anybody's Facebook page, anybody, go to any Facebook page and try to watch each video they post and then try to read each article that they post. And you'll spend all day and never get through what was posted on that day. And yet they're your friends posting this garbage on Facebook so that you get a thumbs up. And if you're that stupid, if you're that insecure that you need to get a thumbs up to get gratification for an article that might take somebody an hour to read, or a video that might take up 15 minutes of somebody's life, they're just going to give you a thumbs up. And then you're going to post another piece of shit article or video. And eventually it all just gets recycled and it doesn't mean a damn thing. There are people out there like that guy Grindall that goes to the border and shows you what's happening. Of course, he gets censored. There are people like that person on Grindall's channel that's telling you that Canada is about to implement total NWO rules. You will not be allowed to have children in school without the jabba dabba do. You will not be allowed to have children in your house if you don't have the jabba dabba do. You will not be able to have a bank book without the jabba dabba do. You will not be able to have a driver's license without the jabba dabba do, or a passport without the jabba dabba do, or anything without the jabba dabba do. You're not going to get nothing without the jabba dabba do. No food without the jabba dabba do. No license without the jabba dabba do. No food without the jabba dabba do. No fast food without the jabba dabba do. No medical assistance without the jabba dabba do. No ambulance service without the jabba dabba do. No passport without the jabba dabba do. No school for you without the jabba dabba do. No school for your children without the jabba dabba do. No school after classes without the jabba dabba do. Nothing. You won't be able to travel from state to state without the jabba dabba do. You won't be able to go into a store to buy groceries without the jabba dabba do. Nothing without the jabba dabba do. The jabba dabba do. Nothing without the jabba dabba do will you be able to do. And that's what's headed to Canada right now, today. And that Justin Trudeau, who some people believe is a little bit too feminine to run a country, he is right behind it, all for it. So you got to figure that if you want to follow the Georgia Guidestones, if you don't know what that is, the Georgia Guidestones, it's the 10 rules to reduce the world's population to 500 million people, what is called sustainable. And they want to do that within the next 10 years. And the first stage of Agenda 2030, or the New World Order, is now, right now, today. It's happening today. The lockdown. This is not about any virus or possible viral infection. This lockdown has nothing to do with that. The lockdown is to devastate the world's economy. There's no other reason for this than that. There is no other reason. Go into any hospital. Trump lied about Elmhurst General Hospital being packed with people. They were putting them in body bags and putting them in freezer trucks. So while he was live on television talking about how Elmhurst General Hospital was being overwhelmed with jabba dabba do patients, 2 or 3 bloggers went to Elmhurst General Hospital. Because what, you think Elmhurst General Hospital is, it's right off Union Turnpike. It would take 11 minutes to get from Elmhurst General Hospital to my house, or vice versa when I lived in Queens. 11 minutes. So people went to Elmhurst General Hospital. The hospital was empty. There were no people in the hospital. Nothing. There was no bodies in the body bags. There were no freezer trucks in the backyard. While Trump was on television saying that's the case. And they showed big trucks, refrigeration trucks behind Elmhurst General Hospital. It's all subterfuge to destroy the world's economy. So you being on Facebook and you needing that rush or adrenaline rush of a thumbs up or a thumbs down, and you believing that that's going to make a difference in something in life itself, that's total delusion. Delusion on your behalf, illusionary in and of itself, and psychotic to believe something that's not going to change a damn thing. It never did. All the articles. So now you post an article about Trump and the NWO or the United Nations. And what does that piece of shit that runs Facebook do? He says, your channel may have content on it that is not allowed. And if you were to go through your channel, what's on Facebook, you might have 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 or 9 or 10,000 articles and commentaries and videos. And any one of them could be the problem that Facebook gave you a warning for, but you don't know which it is. They're not being fair about this. If their algorithm picked it up, then they should tell you what it was so you could delete it. But they don't do that. It's a totally corrupt entity. It's bullshit. There are 3 people that I send the briefest of messages back and forth on Facebook. And that's only because they don't do YouTube. Fox 2221, I had a conversation. He's camping in Australia now. I had a conversation with him last night for about probably 10 minutes. I have a family member that I still talk to. It's not listed under friend or family, but it's only, you can't see them on my Facebook page. It's only a messenger, and we only just say happy birthday to one another, or say hello to his parents are still alive, so I'll say say hello to them if they're around. And that's it. There's 2 or 3 people I will communicate on Facebook. I tried Facebook. One of my largest and most gracious and most giving Patreon member has a Facebook page, and I'm talking about the most generous Patreon member that I've ever had. Among the 2 or 3, he has a Facebook page, but he only posts 1 picture or 2 pictures a month. And I lived where he's posting those pictures from, and I enjoy seeing the scenery from where he lives. And I go there and I give him a thumbs up, and sometimes I make a quick comment, and sometimes I don't. But the rest of those people, 42 notifications in one day, even if just each notification takes you 2 or 3 minutes to watch the shortest of videos, you're talking about 200 minutes between reading the comments and watching videos from 2 to 12 minutes long or 10 minutes long. Your whole day is gone. And what did you get for it? Nothing. Last week, 2 weeks ago, a month ago, I took Mr. Obama scuba diving a couple of times. I took him to the beach the next day snorkeling. I let him make sandcastles on the beach yesterday. I'm a very, very athletic person. I like to walk. I like to walk backwards. Yesterday, I have a video of me walking backwards and doing button hooks. In case you bounce somebody off the ropes in a ring, you can go lateral, left or right. I don't know that I'll post that because I may have gone a little too far with one of those videos. I'm not real sure. But I like to get out and get exercise. But Facebook is making people just wake up in the morning and go to Facebook. And it's total bullshit. There's nothing on Facebook that's ever going to change the political extreme that's happening now. I hate this person and I hate that person, and George Soros is an evil person. Has anybody done anything to George Soros? No. Does anybody talk about George Soros' children, which now run his empire? No. Has anybody done anything to his children? No. Has anybody done anything to Nancy Pelosi? No. Has anybody done anything to the politicians that lie about chemtrails? No. And for you assholes out there that keep posting stuff on my videos about chemtrails that they're contrails, I let you post it because it only shows your ignorance. But there is a difference between contrails and chemtrails. If you don't know the difference, that's your problem. Chemtrails are real, contrails are real. But the fact that a politician will look up in the sky and see lines going left and right and crisscrossing where there are no airports or major populations should tell you that chemtrails are real. But you people want to talk about Nancy Pelosi and how she lied. Now she's sending a stern letter to Joe Biden. Joe Biden has a son. I think Joe Biden's son, I heard stories. I don't see it, but myself, but I heard stories that Joe Biden's son had problems with drugs. Now, does talking about Joe Biden's son change anything? No. Joe Biden is the most incompetent human being as a presidential hopeful that has ever walked onto a podium. The man's an idiot. The man is a blithering idiot. Aside from that, he has a hand problem touching children in the wrong places, in my opinion. But he's a blithering idiot. Nancy Pelosi, when she gets jammed up, good morning. Today's Sunday. It's a beautiful day. And you can jam her up by simply asking her a truthful question. So you people out there that believe that you're going to change society, I, Michael Fazio, have done more to influence the Obama election and to tell you I have never been wrong about Obama or Trump. And I told you 4 years ago, it's 4 years now, I told you Trump would never build a wall. Never gonna build a wall. I said it 4 years ago. And he never built the wall. I told you that Jared Kushner's Trump's son-in-law was directly one of the closest possible friends to Benjamin Netanyahu, and that Jared Kushner's father and Netanyahu were in the Mossad together, supposedly, and that through Jared Kushner, the great state of Israel would infiltrate the White House and all of the inner circle. That happened. I told you Trump would never prosecute Hillary Clinton. That never happened either. I told you Trump would never look for Obama's birth certificate. That would never happen. Did it change anything? No. I told you Trump would not stop the wars because it's in the best interest of Israel. Do you know that each citizen of Israel was given $38,000 per year from the American Treasury or government, whatever account they have it under? They give Israel $10 billion in cash a year, and then they give them planes and helicopters and munitions and parts for the planes and helicopters and the guns that they give them. And Israel gives us nothing except some technology used in 5G, which they don't have in their country. So Trump said he wasn't going to put in 5G, and then he said mandatory 5G is necessary in order to make the world a better place. Oh, and talking about 5G technology, let's stop the bullshit right now. Let's just stop the bullshit. The riots in Portland, Oregon, the riots in Seattle, the riots in Chicago. And I saw, thank you, Scott. Thank you for taking care of that. Okay, so let's just talk about the bullshit that you people believe is necessary, and yet it served no purpose other than to destroy our economy, the war machine. Now, Trump said he was going to get us out of the war, and I think he added 2 or 3 wars. He's a lying piece of walking, talking fecal tissue, Trump is. That's what he is. He's a liar. So was Obama. So was Bush. So was Clinton. So was Reagan. They're all lied. But Trump is now the current #1 liar in the world. Now, let's just talk about the bullshit that I talked about before. I talked about the bullshit artist named Trump. 10 years ago, the United States military developed something called a sound cannon, which is a non-lethal device that shoots microwave radiation into crowds to disperse crowds 200 or 300 feet wide of crowds. They have a 6 or 7 foot dish on top of a truck, and they turn it on, and it shoots out microwaves, and it makes your skin feel like it's on fire, and you cannot move forward. It's not possible. Why didn't they use that in Portland, Oregon? We spent more than $100 million just to develop the premise of microwave non-lethal radiation devices for crowd control in America in case there were riots, and they never used them for 1 minute. They didn't bring them to Portland, Oregon. They didn't bring them to Seattle. They didn't bring them to Chicago. They didn't bring them to New York. These are just trucks with an antenna on the top. Why? Because they want the wanton destruction of all stores, department stores, anything that will make anybody any money economically for the little person. They want those stores destroyed so only the big chains can come back. Home Depot, Walmart, Lowe's, McDonald's, Burger King, Kentucky Fried Chicken, maybe Wendy's, I don't know. But they want those stores destroyed. They want those people to riot. They want the looting. And who's going to make money? The people that buy up the property for pennies on the dollar. And they're going to own the property, and then they'll put the big stores on. There'll be no more mom and pop stores, and that's the plan. But why didn't they use those sound cannons? Because you are being screwed royally by Trump. You were screwed royally by Obama. You will be screwed royally from anybody else that ever gets into the presidential candidacy. They have the technology to push those people back in the riots worldwide and globally. And they never used 1 minute of those non-lethal sound cannons. And they're not defensible. You could take an entire mattress, a 6-inch mattress from your bed, and put it in front of you, and they shoot that sound cannon off, and it's like you didn't have any kind of protection at all. I think the police have some protection in their riot gear, but it's not viable by the average citizen. So even if one person has it, what are you going to do? You're going to fight 100 police? They never used it. So where all these riots occurred, where all the burning, when they started burning down the police station and the courthouse in Portland, Oregon, and in Seattle, when they started burning down the governmental centers, they could have turned the sound cannon on and made these people disperse for several hundred feet away from the building, but they never used it. They could bring in 5 trucks and put one behind the other and just go down every street. People would run into the buildings and they would not come back out. They wouldn't be allowed. They couldn't come back out. Even they turn it on for a minute, you have to run away from it. And yet they never used it because they are screwing you. And nothing that anybody says on Facebook or YouTube is going to change anything. But Facebook is just total bullshit. For crying out loud, I tried to get in touch with somebody on Facebook for 3 freaking weeks. He thinks I'm kidding? I don't care if I ever hear his voice again. I'm not kidding about this. 3 weeks, the phone is set to Facebook and you can't call in when I had something important that I want to talk to him about. But Facebook has become more important than me. Well, then take your Facebook and stick it where the sun don't shine. I don't care about your Facebook account. I even went to Facebook and left messages. Turn your phone off for 10 minutes. I want to talk to you about something. But that's not important to you. So, adios. Nice knowing you. Thanks. Have a nice life. Good luck with all of that. Think I give a shit about anybody on Facebook? I don't. Just those 2 or 3 people. And only because some messages can only be transferred through Facebook, or there's a lot of places. I can't tell you why, but Facebook is a reason for me to go there. If I see a notification from a very specific person for a very specific thing, I will go there and look at that notification. But right now, it's time. LaRue Segrest is on Facebook. LaRue will tell you I have never made a comment. I made one comment. Here's where I was part of a private club. What a bunch of bullshit. Take me off the club if you're listening too, by the way. There was a bullshit article. Well, it was a real article. It was a real article telling you what was going to happen with the Jabba Dabba Doo. And I posted it on Facebook on a channel that I was a member of a private club. And at the time, I think 7 or 8 people gave it a thumbs up. And it was viewed by 2 or 3 people. It wasn't a lot of people. But nobody would comment on it because they're afraid. You go on Facebook to post this bullshit that won't affect anything, and then they're afraid to comment on the bullshit that they post. But it doesn't do anything. You can prove that Obama, you can prove a lot of things about Obama. Trump said he was going to dig out the truth about Obama's birth certificate. Did it ever happen? How many hundreds of millions of people requested that in commentaries and videos and comments all over the internet? How many hundreds of millions of people said this is what we want? You know what? Trump, you're a piece of shit. As a president, you're a piece of shit. As a human being, you're a piece of shit. As a leader of the country, you're a piece of shit. You're a liar. That's the truth. Now, will they censor that? No, they won't censor that because that's speech against the political animal, which is what Trump is. You're allowed to talk about President Trump like that. I'm probably not going to get any AdSense on this, but who gives a shit? AdSense. That's another thing YouTube is raping everybody for. They put commercials on your videos, whether they're commercialized or not, but you only get 1/38 of what you used to make 10 years ago on the same video. So that's all bullshit too. But let's just talk about this piece of garbage we have running the American dream. Okay? He said 200 plus times he was going to build a wall and make Mexico pay for it. 200 times before he got elected, and he never did it. The piece of shit never did it. Now, do I care as much as I should anymore? But the piece of shit got elected because of that promise. And he never fulfilled the promise. He never fulfilled the promise. That's how he got elected, on that one promissory attribute of his campaign. 200 plus times he stumped he was going to build the wall. It was going to be a beautiful. The guy's a freaking liar is what he is. Oh, I see money. Now Trump lying? Jack Thompson. Oh my God. We have the Jack Thompson in the house. Whoa, we got to bang a pot. We have to bang a pot. Jack is here, baby. Jack is here. Bang a pot. Make a lot. Jack, don't send me any more money, please. I have too much money right now. With all the money that you have sent in the past and all the money that you potentially want to send, I have to say, stop. Salamat. But we will bang a pot in reverence for Jack Thompson's major contributions to the Michael Fazio shows over the past year. Let's go. This symbol here represents Jack's credit card, baby. And this symbol here is what I have done to Jack's credit card over the last year. I have decimated Jack Thompson's credit card. Banging a pot, making a lot. So here we go. Jack Thompson. Thank you. Thank you very much. Jack Thompson. Yeah, baby. I sound like I'm in Bangladesh, huh? Bangladesh, Banglapat. Bangladesh, Banglapat. Sweet skate blogs. Princess Anne is in the house. Hello, Anne. Facebook, not important. Only those fake friends attacking. Info into the Facebook can destroy your lives. That's right. That's all bullshit. Now here's another problem on Facebook. Jack, thank you very much. Salamat. Here's another problem on Facebook. I have right now 182 requests that I don't know who they're from. I have no idea who they're from. But now, it was 42 requests yesterday. It was 92 requests for Messenger and stuff all together, and now it's 182. Right now, it's 182 requests on Facebook for people I don't know. I know one. She does not watch my shows. She was my very first girlfriend, and she wanted to be friends. Simulacron, we're going to bang a pot a little bit more. She was my first girl. She wanted to be friends, and I became friends, not on Facebook, but Messenger. And then I called her, and she never answers the phone. So I've probably spent 20 minutes to an hour of my life, because if I spent 20 or 30 minutes calling this woman who I've been friends with since I was 12 years old, and she's never answered the phone, possibly because it comes in as a Skype number and not a real number, possibly because she's busy, possibly because she just doesn't answer the phone. I don't know. But I spent 20 minutes to a half an hour trying to get in touch with her and left Facebook messages saying, I'm going to call you while she's online. No response. And then that's an hour of my life. That's just too much time to spend talking to pushing redial or on Skype redial. That's too much time. So now I have 182 requests. Could you imagine if I went to those 182 requests and went to their channel to see if I know them? And that's another thing. People with fake accounts. I don't know who these people are. I have to ask them a question and then wait for them to answer the question a week or 10 days later. I'm not interested. Facebook is just a worthless piece of shit endeavor. But we have Simulacron. Now, Simulacron, if I could see that. Simulacron has skills, Simulacron. Thank you, Simulacron. We're going to bang a pot for Simulacron in a minute. Simulacron has academic skills that go far beyond the average person. I don't know what he does. I don't want to know what he does. But he understands certain things that other people don't understand, and he articulates in such a way that you can see that his writing equals the wordsmith and not surpasses. No one will ever surpass the Scott Del Fuego, the wordsmithing of Scott Del Fuego. But Simulacron's education, I think, is equal to the highest educated people that I have on my show. Now, I've heard stories about the people on my show are a bunch of trolls, but yet everybody except that guy I Count, and I don't know who that guy I Count is, and I don't care. I mean, if he was my long-term friend like he knows, then he knows the answers to the questions, and he's just trying to break my concentration. The other piece of shit that left comments over the last few days, that's a troll. I just blocked him. I made him hidden on my channel, so he thinks that people can see his comments, but they just go unseen. So let him keep posting. Let him say those things to people in real life. Let him take his chances with talking shit like that to people in real life. I don't think he would. I'm pretty sure he would not. I've heard stories about the man that he's not, in real life, he's not the. I don't know. How would I know that? I've never met the guy. And yeah, that's another thing. I hear this shit on YouTube. How could you be pissed off at somebody you never met? Well, how the hell are presidential elections determined? How are they determined? Did you meet Trump? Did you meet Obama? Did you meet Biden? Did you meet Clinton? I wanted to meet Mr. Duterte. I thought they were going to arrest me because I went to the Capitol building and said I'd like to meet Mr. Duterte when he's in Bohol in 2000. I think it was 15 or 16 or 17 or 18. I don't even remember when it was. But did you ever meet them? I like Duterte. I like what he's done here. I actually like a lot of the stuff that he's done that other people find horrific. There's no crime here. There's no, like, people don't walk up to you and knock you out on the street. We don't have those knockout games like they have in America. We don't have people running in and out of stores. There was a burglary in daylight back in 2015, I think it was, where the guy stabbed one of the money changers in Tagbilaran. And I think he died just a few minutes later. The police shot him dead in the street a block away, right in broad daylight. So that was the last time I remember there being a crime in the daytime. I guess there were more, but I don't see it. And you're being lied to by these politicians and doing all of that stuff on Facebook and all of those commentaries and all the people that are trying to be friends with me on Facebook. You're just wasting your time. Unless you come onto YouTube, give me your home phone number. I call you. You tell me what your Facebook account is. I go to Facebook. While I'm on the phone with you, if your phone works, because I usually call a landline. While I'm on the phone, you give me the name of your Facebook account and say you're sending me a friend request right now. Right now. I go to Facebook, then I add you as a friend, because then I know who I'm talking to. But the other 182 people that are on there for the last 3 days, let's say, nobody got a shot at being my friend. Well, we have to bang that pot. We didn't forget about banging the pot. And then we're going to try to drown ourselves with this water here. It's warm enough for me not to get a throat freeze, and it's cool enough. You know what I think I do? I'm feeling spunky. Before I bang that pot, I think I should drink this bottle of water, which you can see has an air bubble. Let's see, the air bubble. Get it at the bottom there. You see that air bubble? Well, you're going to see air bubbles. Because I'm a real man. Real men drink bottles of water. Real men don't sip water, except for the one exception, Steve Montelli. He's a real man sipper, Steve Montelli. Everybody else that sips water, you might as well have a pussycat on your forehead, a tattoo of a pussycat on your forehead, because that's what you are. If you're a sipper, I don't know any real men that sip water except Steve Montelli. Disclaimer. So let's go. Here we go. You know what I think I'm going to do? I think I'm going to remove this label. It's time. It's time to remove part of that label so that you will have a bird's eye view of, do I have something to remove it? Of course I do. I have a little nail clipper here. All right, well, I got most of it. Okay, so it's a nail clipper and a bottle opener from the 1970s. I remember getting this when I was in high school. So we're going to show you what real men consume bottles of water. Only one real man in this world sips water. That's Steve Montelli. Real men drink bottles of water. And real men don't stop until that water's gone. Real men don't drown themselves with 700 liters of water. Real men know how to get the water into their stomach, not their lungs. And you don't drown from drinking too much water. You get water poisoning, and that's very rare. And I would probably have to drink 4 or 5 of these before I got sick. But I'm thirsty now. I've been talking for 35 minutes. It says 35 minutes I've been talking for without a sip. Ready? Real men drink bottles of water. Real men walk backwards. Real men walk backwards at night. Real men walk backwards at night with reflective vests on. And real men walk backwards with real flashlights. Ding! Real flashlights in case it gets real dark so that you can see where you're going. This little flashlight is very powerful. It shows 100 feet away. It lights up the whole wall. So if need be, you can set it to go up in the sky, in a ceiling, in a room, or you can just, I can be like the guy on Adel. For the next 30 minutes, your television set will be controlled by Michael Fazio of Hoodwinked by an Angel. In the Philippines, baby, and here we go. The magic water. This is what makes real men real men. We touch the water, we rub the water. We got a little Mr. Obama. Here's a little Mr. Obama comes over to rub the water. Oh, he likes rubbing the water. Oh, Mr. Obama's rubbing and a rubbing. It's enough rubbing, Mr. Obama. Go over there. And ready? Real men drink bottles of water. Here we go. Ready? I'm going to put my finger in the back to hold it up to show you the bubbles. Slow. Ready, set, and slow. Got to drink the water slow. Real men drink bottles of water. Now, I could say there's some other things what real men can do with water. But I have a lot of friends that are my age, and they may have bladder problems, so I don't want to embarrass them. But real men can hold their water. Real men are not water boys. So to call a real man a water boy might get you into more trouble than you might want to care about getting into. But real men drink bottles of water, baby. Simulacron, I didn't forget. Let's do something special for Simulacron, because Simulacron is a highly educated person, like Scott, like Dennis, like Warren, like Jack, like many of my subscribers. So Simulacron gets a special shout out. Thank you, Simulacron. Salamat. simulacron. Thank you, thank you, thank you very. I don't like that sound at all. There we go. Thank you very much. Simulacron. I don't like that sound. I don't know why. I have no idea, but I do know I can make a better sound than that. And I can do it with this. I can do it with a real nut. Real nut. You want to hear a thank you? This is a thank you from a man who has a big galvanized nut. Ready? Oh, we knocked the pot. We knocked the pot from its placement. There we go. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Too much power. The power of a nut. Savama. Simulacron. Thank you. So, where were we? We were talking about the sound cannons and that piece of shit that we have for President Trump right now. He never fulfilled his promises to the people. He didn't fulfill going after Clinton's emails. He didn't fulfill going after Obama's birth certificate. He didn't fulfill building a wall. He didn't keep and the bullshit that you hear. Let me tell you the statistics on the wall. First of all, that man lied through his teeth, bold-faced lied. He was going to build 1,300 miles of border wall. That's bullshit, number one. Okay, so number two, how much new wall? This is the important part. How much new wall did Trump build? In 2019, it was less than 300 feet of new wall. 300 feet in 3.5 years. 300 feet, that's 100 feet per year. But they say 180 miles of border wall was rebuilt. Well, that might have been like a chain link fence or a barbed wire fence. But that's all bullshit too. Because at any point of any part of that wall, it can be easily climbed up by anybody with any young person, that's halfway athletic can climb up those walls just by, shimmying, grabbing the outside edge of the beam and using their feet like the people in the Philippines climb up a coconut tree. And then they can put a rope on the top of it, and then it can pull you up and then lower you down. There is no border wall in America that will stop the people from going over the wall. Now, I did originally see some walls with barbed wire on the top or people wire. That ain't going to stop anybody. That wouldn't even slow down somebody that knows how to compensate for razor wire on the top of a border wall. And what do you need to confiscate? Not much. Not much at all. You need those quilted blankets that you use in the U-Haul trucks to wrap your furniture with. That's all you need. You don't need anything else. Nothing. You need a quilted blanket or a whole bunch of burlap bags doubled up, and you'll be able to climb right over that border wall. And maybe a rope, because the rope you can put it over you throw the burlap or the quilt over the barbed wire. Okay, now it's over the barbed wire, and the little thicky, stony things won't be able to get you so much. You might get a little cut, but then you throw the rope over it, and you what they call cinch the rope, and just cinch it up and crush the barbed wire down into a smaller diameter, and when it's crushed down, throw another blanket over the top of it, and that's it. Done. You can go over that rope. Now, could I do it at my age and my weight? Yeah, I probably could. Those walls are only 18 feet high. What do you think you're doing? You think you're climbing the Empire State Building, with a like a rope ladder? You're just climbing up a piece of steel. Could I do it now, today? Probably not. Could I work on that and get it done in a few months, like where I'd have to lose weight and I'd have to use those climbing skill muscles? But young people have those muscles at their beck and call. So a young person could go up with that canvas, a heavy canvas. That razor wire doesn't cut through every piece of cloth or thing that you throw over it. So you just throw an industrial grade rubberized canvas over the top and then cinch that down and then put a blanket over the top of that, and you could just go right over the top. But this Trump never did a damn thing. He didn't go after Hillary Clinton's emails because Hillary Clinton's emails led to Homodermathon, whatever the fucking name is, and that led to Anthony Weiner, and Anthony Weiner led to sexting messages to children, and that would have led back to John Podesta's pedophile charges, or the charges of Pizzagate. I think it was Pizzagate. Bono's Entertainment would know what that was. And that would have led back to Hillary Clinton being part of that, if that's what it led back to. And then that would lead back to the fact that Trump's been friends with a lot of those people too for 30 or 40 years. And Trump was friends with Jeffrey Epstein, and that's certainly connected with pedophilia and child molestation. And whatever happened to the woman that worked for Jeffrey Epstein, it's all bullshit. And to post all this bullshit on Facebook all day doesn't serve any purpose. What I do is not serving much of a purpose, other than the fact that if just one or two people get the hell off Facebook and go out and shit with their lives, now that the lockdown is coming to an end, and they get off, then it's not going to change anything. That's my point. It will never change anything. Scott Del Fuego can tell you that the city of Chicago is a freaking mess. And all they had to do was bring in a few of those sound cannons. We bought them. I paid for them. I used to pay $5,500 a year in income tax, in tax on my property for the state of Florida. And some of that was federal tax that went to building weapons. And some of it was school taxes that I didn't have children in school. And some of it was for libraries, which is a good thing. But I paid for those weapons. I helped pay for those weapons. And my income on my excavation company was several thousand more dollars a year. Okay, so I paid $10,000 a year in taxes for those weapons, and yet they were developed to use in big cities in case of riots. When are they going to start that? When? I'll tell you when they start storming the White House like ants. They might use them then. They probably have them close to the White House for protection, but they might not use them then either. They might just let the people destroy the White House if that's what's going to happen. But when are they going to use the weapons that they've spent billions of dollars on research with? They don't have a problem shooting high pressure water at you that'll knock your eye out or break your back if it smashes you up against a concrete column or a bench. They have no problem shooting water at you at 175 psi. But when they can shoot, and that's lethal, by the way, they have no problem shooting flashbangs at you and blowing out your eye socket or knocking off your chin or blowing your chest apart. They don't have a problem with that. They don't have a problem with shooting tear gas grenades and giving you a concussion and killing you in the street. They have no problem with that. But non-lethal weapons, they have a fucking problem with that. It's bullshit. Jack Thompson is giving a lot of smiles out. Jack's card needs company. Thank you, Sam Lacron. So we are up here. LaRue, and put like or hearts at Jack Thompson's video he posted and to my loved ones. Okay, if that's what you need to do. Jack Thompson, oh my God. Jack Thompson, I wish I could talk to you. I cannot talk to you when I'm doing a live stream. I could probably leave a message. I had something that I wanted to share with you, and it wasn't anything about the last message, Jack. All right. All right. Thank you. He's going to go back to Patreon. Jack. Well, we're not going to add Jack's dirty laundry out on YouTube, are we? Nothing that Jack did, I'll tell you that. But Jack, Patreon changed the way they do business, and for some reason, some credit cards stopped working, and that that happens. That just is they changed the way they collect the money. They changed a small point percentage of how much money they take. Right now, to drop money into my bank account from Patreon, it costs 25 cents. They give you interest on your money, so it's you're not losing any money to keep it in there. But they changed the rules on whose credit cards will work where. So Jack had a problem with his credit card. A few other people did too. I don't mention it because it's really not that important. So Jack, don't worry about the Patreon account. But I did have something I wanted to talk to you about. It had nothing to do with our last conversation. Hello, Jack Thompson. LaRue Seagrass and Princess Anne says hello, Jack Thompson. Sweet Skate Vlogs. I was involved in 3 knockout games. I lost all 3 of them. That's bullshit. There are sippers and there are suckers. That's true. And sometimes the sippers might be suckers as well. And when I say suckers, I don't mean that in a bad way. If you're the Throne of Knowledge, Jack Thompson. I should do a live stream from the Throne of Knowledge. Actually, Jack, I had a friend of mine on Facebook that said to say hello a couple of months back. I forgot all about it till just now. Thank you. Sounds like in caroling during the December here in the Philippines. It does. It does. Thank you. I have Hunter Biden's crack pipe. Oh, Jack. I did hear about that story. So let's, I think I have one more thing. Besides being a real man walk around at, listen, I'm going to go back to in case the people skip through this. I have never had a problem walking around at night in the Philippines, no matter where I went. So I'll give you the names of the cities I walked around. Okay, so first of all, if I want to go someplace, I just go there. I don't need a tricycle driver to accompany me to where I'm going. I don't need somebody that I know to accompany where I'm going. Real men don't need backup. Real men are backup in and of itself. And if there's a problem, that's a problem for the real men to deal with. If they can, they can. If they can't, they can't. But if you're worried about where you're going to be walking around in the Philippines at night, I would say don't worry about that. So I walked around the lowest income area in Bacolod City. And I'm talking, I don't even want to describe what I saw on the streets of Bacolod, but I have never seen such poverty in my life where when I walked from the main road, the tricycle dropped you off at a 48-inch wide opening in between buildings, in between storefronts. And then you had to walk 200 feet to where you were going, okay? And on each side of that 200 feet, there were people living on, I wouldn't say a bed, I would say crates, like wooden crates, like 4 inches, 5 inches high crates, the ones that fork, pallets. They were living on pallets. So they'd have 2 pallets back to back. And then on that pallet, they would have their personal possessions, and their spouse or girlfriend or boyfriend would be on one half of the pallet, and they would be on the other half of the pallet. And then on the pallet, you would see them with a bucket or 2 buckets of little, the lids from where you open up a soda bottle and you see it just opens the top of the soda bottle like this, like a can opener. If you had a can opener, like a bottle opener like this, and this bottle opener here, you just pop the top off. Well, that's the soda pop top is metal, right? Everybody knows this. But inside the soda pop top is a little plastic seal. I saw people taking the plastic seal out and putting the tops to the side for metal weight. And then they also had bottle tops that were made out of plastic, screw-offs, and they were taking the rubber seal out. They're putting the seal in one container. They put the metal tops in another container and the plastic bottle tops in a third container, and the fourth container had aluminum bottle tops where they took the seal out and they put the aluminum in a fifth container. And that's how these people made a living. And any nails they could find on the street. In Bacolod, you would not see any debris on the street. Never. You'd never see debris, metal or ferrous metal. You'd never see not even so much as a bottle top. That's how poor that city was when I went there in 2015. So I walked up and down that alley for 10 days when I went to go see the person I was going to see. Now, she lived in a house that when you walked into the house, and now this is on both sides of the path, and the path on one side had the sewerage that flowed from everybody just dumping their sewerage into the path. So you walked in, all the puddles in the path were raw sewage, not through a tank. It was just raw sewage, raw water, raw ta'i or fecal matter, and raw ihi or urine. It was just, that's what it smelled like. But when you got to where her house was, apparently at one time that was a nice neighborhood, and she lived in a relatively nice house once you went inside the house. But outside the house was the most amazing thing. Now, I would not make a video of that. I would not. I just said I'm not going to display this kind of poverty in the Philippines. I didn't think it was right then. I don't think it's right now. Somebody does that, I wouldn't do it. I've seen people do it where they show, oh, look at this, look at this, look at this, look how these people live. I would never do that. I could, but I wouldn't. And you could get away with it, but why would you want to be such a worthless piece of shit to post stuff like that? That only somebody that's a worthless piece of shit. You're going to demean people that have nothing in life and feel good about it. You don't you know, that you just don't do that kind of shit. Not normal people don't do that. But anyway, so Jack, I did have something I wanted to tell you. Nothing really important. Nothing is. The bullshit censorship. Oh boy, I think I'm done. Unless I missed something. I could start again reading. Thinking, got that. Row, got that. Money, got that. Grace. Who's Grace? Got that. Oh, the promises. Yeah, the promises that were made to me for the computer. We did that. Wire transfer fees. Got that. And my NBI certificate. Let me tell you something about the people in the Philippines. Where is my NBI certificate? Let me tell you what happened when I went to get my NBI certificate. Where the hell did I put that? Okay, I'm not gonna be showing this to you with my numbers on it. But so in July, my NBI certificate expires. I do believe. No, June. My NBI certificate expires on June 22nd. June 22nd. My NBI certificate expires. So I went prior to that and gave them, you give them your old NBI certificate. It's really simple. If you have one, you just give them the old certificate and 130 pesos, and the whole process is done in 6 minutes, 7 minutes, finished. Okay, but if you don't have one, you got to get fingerprinted, and you have to have a valid passport and a valid ACR card. So I went there. Apparently, I went there in June, but the validation date is good until 1 year from July. So when you go there, how long will it take to get? Now, this is the bullshit you hear on YouTube. So here's what it looks like without my numbers. That's the color of the page, and then it has one of those special patterns, and then in the middle, somewhere in the middle, right here, right there, it says NBI, National Bureau of Investigation. I said, how long will it take? So they said 3 weeks. Okay. So I went back in July, because it would have been a month, and they said it's not ready yet, sir. Now, you hear these stories on YouTube that your NBI certificate takes 2 or 3 days. It's bullshit. Why anybody tells you that, I don't know how it could take. Maybe if you was in Manila, you could get it done in 3 days. Maybe that's possible. I don't know. But the reason it takes 3 days, 3 weeks, 21 days, is because your fingerprints go to Interpol. They literally your fingerprints go to Interpol, and you're checked worldwide for crimes if you have any criminal record. So you can't get one if you have a conviction of a felony. You can't get an NBI card. So those stories you hear on YouTube where this guy's a felon and that guy's a felon and that guy's a felon and he's arrested, it's all bullshit. If you have an NBI certificate, you've never been convicted of a felony. It's just that simple. So 3 weeks go by, a month goes by, and I had to go to the BIR in July, and I went back to the NBI office, and I went to get my certificate. It wasn't ready. Not a big deal. I don't need it. I'm not doing business here. Not that I would need. Not that I would. I buy stuff, but I'm not selling anything. So I go back in September, August. Nope, not ready yet. I went back in September. No, wasn't ready yet. So what? We're already 3 months. July, August, September, right? October. We're in October now, right? What is it? October 18th. I got my card. So 3 days ago. I got my card 3 days ago. 4 months. So that's because of the lockdown. That's because I don't know why it is. It took 4 months. So you people that are waiting for, I don't know, maybe it took that long to research your criminal background through Interpol. I don't know what took 4 months, but it took 4 months. So the reason I mention this is because there are people that are overstayers. Okay. Now, if you're an overstayer, by 6 months, you need to get an NBI certificate to get out of the Philippines. But first, you have to pay all your back visa fees, unless you could worm your way out of it. And there are some people that are pretty wormy. They worm their way. They hire an immigration lawyer, if that's possible. I heard stories. I don't know if it's possible. I don't care. Immigration at the office, they are absolutely clear that you can't circumvent your visa run trip out of the country. They are sure, but then they are sure about stuff that they're not sure about. So if you need if you're more in the country more than 6 months, then you need to get an NBI clearance. So let's say you are an outside, you didn't do your visa run, and then you have to clear up your visa fees, then you can apply for an NBI certificate, and then you'll have to wait. Well, I waited 4 months. So it could theoretically be 4 months. Then after you get the NBI certificate, then you can go back to an accredited agency and ask. Then you have to buy an airline ticket and bring them the airline ticket and show them when you're leaving, and then they'll give you an okay to leave. It's really complicated here. It's not real simple, and it's getting more complicated. So I do believe I bought the airline ticket first, and then I got permission to leave the country. And my memory fails me whether you get the ticket first. I think you get the ticket first. Somebody here might know. So Jack Thompson is back again, and Havoc Master, message automatically held for review. We will undo that. CNN has his butt cracked. Okay, so we got that back up. Havoc Master never posts anything that isn't true and worthy of being on YouTube. And I think Havoc Master should do the news, take over the ABC, NBC, CBS slots. Jack Thompson, CNN has his butt cracked. Oh, yeah. Hunter Biden's crack pipe, says Jack Thompson, Havoc Master. And Thompson, CNN has his butt cracked. That's true. They're all up each other's butt cracks. Havoc, sorry. So Havoc Master, I inadvertently deleted your comment. Forgive me, it was a mistake. No, that's cool. It's back. I see it. But let's just I'll post it. I'll copy it and post it. Yeah, it was an honest mistake from an honest man who has a great credit card working. His credit card works great. Okay, so I don't know what else there is to say. Does somebody have a question? I might be able to help you with that. I will tell you this. I was really, 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 really surprised the other day. So a Filipino person has continually surprised me for 6.5 years. Because, first of all, we have been friends for 6.5 years. And that's a solid friendship. We became friends a day after I moved here because he was working on his boat. And he had a 8 horsepower Briggs & Stratton engine, and he didn't know how or why the engine wasn't running. It was a simple thing. I just took the carburetor bowl off the bottom of the carburetor. At the time, he was a little bit younger than he is now, and the engine would go on and off and on and off, and he just thought that there's fuel coming out. There's got to be nothing wrong with the carburetor. He did not realize that there is a screen in the bottom of the tank that keeps debris from going to the needle float, and then the needle float, there is a screen where it could get fungus on a nylon. It's called nylon. It's nylon rubber product screen inside the float. And when you take it apart, it looks clean, but it's not. It just doesn't let the flow through the screen. So you just take it apart, and you take some soapy water and a soft flannel rag or something like that and just wash that screen down and put it back in, and the machine will run properly. So from day one, we've been friends. So you can't have good friends here. So after that, he needed assistance. He needed some tools, which I had because I had bought some tools when I lived in a previous house, and I helped him do some carpentry work. Then I helped him again with his boat. Nothing really hard, but for him, he wasn't a carpenter. So whenever I asked the man for something, he always just says, "Here, take it." You know, like if he had a rope laying around last year, a 1-inch piece of line. I wanted to put it on something to drag something with. I said, "Can I have that rope?" He said, "Yeah, just take it." I said, "No, I just want to borrow." He goes, No, keep it." So it was about 14 foot of rope at 60 pesos a foot. That's $1 a foot. He gave me $15 worth of rope. Now, I do go to his parties. I will tell you that actually without me being at the party, it really wouldn't be a party. Let's leave it like that. So I needed to go to the city on Friday, and I was running late. So I said, "Nah, you know what? Let me walk up the block on the main road. Let me see if I know one of the drivers." Because I do know a few of the drivers. And I saw him, and I said, "Look, I want to go to the city. Will you take me to the city?" A lot of them won't take you to the city. It's too far. It's 28 kilometers to the ICM mall, and then I had to go further than that to a special business that I had to go to. So I said to him, "Will you take?" "Yeah, I'll take you there." And I said, "How much?" He goes, "No charge." I said, "No charge? That's like 28, that's 56 kilometers round trip." He goes, "No charge for you, Mike." So, of course, I paid him. And I paid him what I would have paid another tricycle driver. But the idea that he would, in the economy where his family doesn't have, they have money, that I make sure of. But in the idea that his generosity to give me back, because I've helped him in the past many different ways, that was nice that he offered to take me to the city, and he would not take the money when I got to the city. He'd go, "No, I'm not going to take the money." I said, "You're going to take the money." And eventually I got him to take the money. But that was really nice for a man who has not much, and for a man whose family doesn't have much, and for a man who doesn't really owe me any money. I mean, I only helped him, but he's helped me also. So it works out in the favor of both of us. But here is the thing that made the big difference. Never have I ever asked him for anything, ever, day or night, for 6.5 years. Whenever I see him, if I need something, yes, okay, I'll take care of that. He's never said no. and he has never come to me where I did not help him. And I helped him in a few different ways, monetarily a little bit, but also with mechanical things that he doesn't know about. A few years back, he was building something, and I showed him how to save a couple of hours to cut things and to put things together. And he did it, and he realized that it was easier to do it my way than his way. His way would work, but it would take all day. My way took 2 hours. So I think I'm done. I'm at the 34 minute 34 minutes. I've been talking for a solid 34 minutes, at least that much. Ran out of water once, and it looks like I'm going to run out of water again. Because real men run out of water when they drink bottles. Now this is a baby bottle. I want to thank everybody for coming. I don't know if Jack is still here. I did. Jack, it doesn't matter whether you're here or not. I can leave a message now. Normal message now. I could do that. But the other day, I couldn't leave. I was in a big hurry the other day. Big hurry. So thanks for everybody, LaRue and Princess Anne, Jack Thompson's, SM Lacron, Havoc Masters, 69, Scott Del Fuego, Dennis Adam. I count whoever you are. I don't know who you are. I don't think you count that much because you don't watch my, and I don't care if you watch my live streams or not. Let's see who else was here. I know that Thomas Grube was watching because we spoke earlier. Wait, what? That's a new one. Wait, who is that one there right there? Sweet. I can't. Okay. I count. You left too many comments. That to me is a troll. A person who comments. Well, you were deleted. Your message was deleted. Let's see what that message said. Okay, you are just being a troll. I count. Let's see. I'll take care of that now. Gives you options. Hide user on this channel. Adios, I count. I just made you disappear. So Bono's Entertainment was a big plus factor today. Thank you for stopping by, Bo and Scott Del Fuego. We gave the honorable mention. Flying Circus. Oh my God, he was here. Flying Circus. Gary Slim. Not sure who Gary Slim is, but thank you for stopping by, Gary Slim. I've seen your name before. I don't know who you are, but thank you. Gary Slinn, Slinn, not Slim. Sorry. NYO Supra. Salamat. Thank you. And with that, we're going to end it. Thank you, everybody. I have to take the sand digger digging. Come on over here. You know what I should try? I should try this. Look, I don't know if it'll work. The sand digger. And this is Mr. Obama. He dug a hole in for America that nobody will. Let's see if he makes a noise. Not bad. Not bad for a sand digger. Oh, yeah. We could make beautiful music together. Let's see what else we could do. He's got a little strap on his neck. Strap on, get it? Strap on his neck. Look, okay, so let's see. I'm a digger. You're a digger. We're all diggers, baby. I dig you. You dig me. He dug a hole for America that no one can see. The top of where you're screwed from Mr. Obama. I dig holes in the Philippines now. Digger, 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 digger. I'm a digger, you're a digger, you're a digger, I'm a digger. I build sandcastles in the Philippines. sandcastles. Get it? Digger, the number one digger. Get it? He's a digger. He's an excavation contractor in the Philippines now. Mr. Obama is digger, 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 digger. I got to get him a little spoon so he could be a proper digger. Whoa! I hear digger. Oh, digger. Here's my other doll digger. It's the only one with electronics left, right? He can. He has the ability to walk upside down. Yay! Ha 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 ha! Ooh! Watch this. His feet light up. Ha wee! And Digger, he has a diaper on. Carries a diaper. He's not wearing a diaper. He carries a diaper in case he scares somebody and the other person needs a diaper. This is a spare diaper. There's another diaper in the Digger 2.0 box. And this is really a baby alive doll. It has an estimated value of $36, 1,800 pesos. I got it on sale for 900 pesos. And the reason that we have Digger tied up with chains, Digger is chained because every time you let Digger loose, he digs a hole that he can't get out of. This is because he lives on the bottom of the flat earth. So he's a digger on the bottom. He's a gnome. He's a digger. He's a bottom of the flat earth type of doll. And he's baby alive, baby. I'm being permit. So let's see what we got. Sweet vlogs. I'm still here. Thank you, Princess Anne. And we're going to say goodbye. Thanks again. I'm going to be bringing Digger and Mr. Obama, the number one digger in the world. I'm going to be bringing these two diggers to the beach to build sandcastles. It's going to happen. It'll happen can't happen today. It's raining like a little bit, not so much, but I can't be doing that stuff in the rain. I could, but trying to build a sandcastle in the rain is like trying to shovel tie against the tide. Woo! Whoa! I'm being permy, everybody. Thank you for stopping by. Have a great day. Trolls are hidden. Troll all you like, but you will not be seen. That's right, baby.